In 2077, the virtual game Apocalypse became reality. World order collapsed, turning the mortal realm into hell. Amidst the chaos, humanity awakened supernatural abilities to fight back. In that world, the richest playboy young master of Jiang City, Ye Xiao, wholeheartedly protected Qin Yanran. He spared no expense, hiring 10 top experts to help her level up. Ye Xiao even exhausted his entire fortune to buy a divine artifact for Qin Yanran. Any opportunity or piece of equipment, he immediately brought it to her. Thanks to Ye Xiao's help, Qin Yanran eventually became a top powerhouse in the Dragon Nation. Today was the wedding day of Ye Xiao and Qin Yanran. Everyone admired them, believing they were truly a match made in heaven. The guests secretly wished they had a wealthy and devoted man like Ye Xiao. In that momentous occasion, Ye Xiao gently asked, "Yanran, will you marry me?" Qin Yanran wrapped her arms around him, whispering, "I," then coldly continued, "Won't." Ye Xiao was stunned, bursting into a maniacal laugh amidst extreme disbelief. He painfully demanded to know why, even as Qin Yanran's hand pierced through his chest. She mocked him from above alongside another man. "Did you think money could buy my true affection?" Qin Yanran declared that everything she had today was achieved through her own effort. She ripped out Ye Xiao's heart, handed it to the man named Zhou Hong, and said he was the only one who truly understood her. Zhou Hong placed his foot on the chest of the dying Ye Xiao and hurled an insult. "Die, you piece of trash." Zhou Hong's words rang out triumphantly. "Now, everything you own belongs to me. Ha ha ha." In the cold stream, Ye Xiao wondered, "Why?" "Qin Yanran, for you, I wholeheartedly gave up everything." His body slowly sank, only to be betrayed by you in the end. Lying, dying, blood staining his chest, he desperately thought, "My heart has turned to ashes. Is this the end?" He bitterly realized the cruel truth. "No, I don't have a heart anymore." But then, a spark of resentment flared in his eyes. "Impossible. I won't let things end like this." Amidst the chaotic void, Ye Xiao roared his vow. "I refuse to accept this. I will make you pay. I will have my revenge." Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out, pulling him from his rage. "Ye Xiao, are you deaf? Didn't you hear what I said?" Ye Xiao opened his eyes, seeing the Qin Yanran of the past insulting him. "Taking your money was just to save your face. If you keep clinging to me, never look for me again." He stared blankly at the gold card in his hand and realized, this is rebirth? I remember now, 1 week before the apocalypse descends. This card holds 200,000 yuan, Qin Yanran's monthly allowance. While Ye Xiao confirmed he had truly been reborn, Qin Yanran continued her monologue, claiming she took the money for his own good. Ye Xiao coldly turned his back, not saying a word. He turned back to face her, asking only one word, "What?" causing Qin Yanran to sneer. "Regretting it already? For my own good?" Ye Xiao scoffed. "Then why don't I just go straight to hell instead?" Qin Yanran was utterly stunned by his unprecedented fierce reaction. Ye Xiao said sarcastically, "You must have had a tough time. I will never give you anything again," leaving her speechless with anger. Thinking this was just a new trick, Qin Yanran arrogantly said, "Fine, I'll reluctantly accept your card this time." But he only spat out each word coldly. "Get lost. Immediately. Right now." Humiliated, Qin Yanran screamed in fury. "Ye Xiao, how dare you talk to me like that? You will regret this." "Just remembered," Ye Xiao said calmly, then bent down. "The shoes you're wearing were also bought by me. Take them off before you leave." Qin Yanran furiously yelled at Ye Xiao, unable to believe he dared to use money to humiliate her. Ignoring her threats, Ye Xiao coldly replied that her disappearance would be a blessing. He thought to himself that he had more important things to do than waste time on her, as the beta version of Apocalypse would start in 1 week. According to information from his previous life, the charging system would be activated within the first 10 minutes of this beta test. Realizing the golden opportunity, Ye Xiao decided he must raise enough capital before the game started. He called a woman named Ye Lin and bluntly offered to sell all his shares for 20 billion. Ye Lin was extremely surprised by the sudden offer, while Ye Xiao demanded she complete the transaction within 5 days. She laughed loudly in triumph, accepted the deal, and believed she had finally seized the Ye Corporation. After hanging up, Ye Xiao smirked confidently, determined that in this life, he would ascend to the peak of fame alone. Exactly 1 week later, system screens appeared, welcoming Ye Xiao to the beta version of the game Apocalypse. He appeared at the starting point, feeling the familiar sensation of entering this world once again. The game officially began. He quickly set his nickname as Night Xiao and started the job selection process. He recalled the image of a divine-level beast tamer and his gigantic dragon from his previous life. With the memory of that destructive power, coupled with his abundant financial resources, he unhesitatingly chose the beast tamer profession. Completing the selection, Ye Xiao laughed heartily, ready for his plan. He immediately opened the system interface and proceeded to the most crucial moment, topping up his account. Using the 20 billion from selling his shares, he successfully charged 20 billion gold coins, knowing their value would multiply tenfold after 3 days. Unexpectedly, the system announced he was the first player to charge over 1 billion and had unlocked a hidden profession reward. A strange icon flashed alongside a pair of blazing red eyes in his mind. The system congratulated him, announcing he had received a second profession, wealth. Ye Xiao was stunned when he realized he had unlocked a hidden class, God of Wealth. He didn't expect that amidst the raining gold coin. The one who appeared would be a strange, toad-like creature. Ye Xiao frowned and asked where this toad had crawled out from. The creature angrily declared his name was Ebisu, the Wealth Mentor, and that Ye Xiao was the 9,999th God of Wealth under his guidance. Ye Xiao was skeptical, mocking the idea of having a toad as a financial mentor. Ebisu snapped his fingers confidently, declaring he would show Ye Xiao what true wealth was. A series of notification panels appeared, listing 5 extremely powerful innate talents of the God of Wealth class. Ye Xiao was utterly astonished by what he had just seen. He realized these skills weren't for attack, but Ebisu asserted they could bring boundless wealth. Ye Xiao quickly calculated, realizing he could earn 22,022 attribute points every day. He lifted Ebisu up, determined to use the power of money to change his fate, despite the mentor screaming to be put down. With this advantage in hand, Ye Xiao confidently chose to enter the novice village. He and Ebisu were teleported to a deserted meadow, a perfect start. While Ye Xiao was strategizing for the Beast Tamer class, Ebisu scoffed at this reckless choice. Suddenly, Ye Xiao heard a noise and turned to look. A pack of elite level 5 goblin warriors was roaring about the smell of human flesh and charging towards. Ye Xiao panicked, realizing he had encountered strong enemies right from the start, debating whether to fight or flee. Ebisu yelled at him to run because they were completely unarmed, and the two began to flee. Pursued by the ferocious goblin pack, Ye Xiao desperately cried for help. After struggling to escape, Ye Xiao finally reached the main city, lamenting that he had never suffered such humiliation. Immediately, he became the laughingstock of another group of players who mocked him for choosing the Beast Tamer class with a toad. They continued to laugh and advised Ye Xiao to go buy a decent pet egg. Unfazed, Ye Xiao asserted that he was not interested in ordinary beasts. He revealed to Ebisu that he knew of a hidden dungeon containing divine-level pet eggs in a dragon's lair. The two proceeded to the Supreme Hall, a place reserved only for high-level players, causing Ebisu great alarm. As they stepped onto the stairs, Ebisu anxiously called for Ye Xiao to stop. Their path was blocked by a level 80 Grand Archmage, who demanded a letter of recommendation for entry. Rejected, Ye Xiao smiled and said he had come to return something the mage had lost. He pointed to the ground, drawing the attention of the suspicious mage. The old mage was astonished to see gold coins scattered at his feet. While he bent down to pick them up, Ye Xiao continued to point out even more coins appearing around them. The mage held a handful of gold, his face beaming with joy. His attitude immediately changed, and he enthusiastically invited Ye Xiao to the upstairs VIP room. After clearing his throat to regain his solemn demeanor, the mage allowed Ye Xiao to pass, prompting Ebisu to marvel at the power of money. Ye Xiao strode alone into the magnificent hall of the Supreme Hall. He walked past the hireable level 100 night golems but flatly declared they were not worth his trouble. Suddenly, a massive warrior in deer-antlered armor appeared, and angrily demanded to know who let them in. Ye Xiao calmly faced the berserk blood warrior, and announced he needed to hire a divine-level golem guard. The warrior was utterly astonished, arguing that divine-level golems were extremely rare and not available for hire. Ye Xiao confidently declared, 1 billion per day. The berserk blood warrior froze, stunned by the figure. He explained that it was technically impossible, but he happened to know a divine-level spellcaster who could help. After hearing about the spellcaster's versatility, Ye Xiao agreed to sign the contract and would pay upon necessity. The berserk blood warrior presented the contract, and Ye Xiao hastily urged him on due to his tight schedule. Instantly, a female spellcaster appeared in the magic circle, asking who had summoned her, astonishing Ye Xiao with the speed. She introduced herself as Dolores, a divine-level spellcaster, and stated she would obey orders for 24 hours, while Ye Xiao realized he couldn't view her level. Dolores approached, lifted Ye Xiao's chin, and asked what he needed her to do. Ye Xiao offered to hire her to handle a difficult task, but Dolores scoffed, suggesting there was nothing challenging in a novice village. Not wanting to waste time, Ye Xiao entrusted everything to her, and Dolores confidently asked him to lead the way. Dolores raised her staff high, gathering a massive fireball. The fireball struck a horde of goblins, dealing enormous damage numbers that stunned Ye Xiao. Amidst the battlefield littered with goblin corpses, Ebisu angrily shouted that they had almost killed him. Other players witnessing the scene were amazed by the power, assuming Dolores must be a high-level hired NPC. A flurry of system notifications appeared, congratulating Ye Xiao on reaching level 10, shocking Ebisu, since other players hadn't even passed level 5. A worldwide announcement rang out, declaring that the player Night Sorrow had reached level 10, causing a sensation among the player community. Ye Xiao looked into the distance, thinking of the apocalypse, and declared it was time to head to their true destination. As the group walked along the path, Ebisu asked if this was the hidden dungeon he had mentioned. Ye Xiao smirked and confirmed, "That's right, Dragon's Lair, here I come." The world-level ranking board appeared, showing only the name Night Sorrow in the first rank at level 10. In another area, a player wearing a white cloak was swiftly taking down goblins. Sitting on a rock, they lamented that despite their best efforts, they were only level 3, while someone else had already reached level 10. However, Instead of being discouraged, they smiled with excitement at the appearance of a powerful rival. Meanwhile, Ye Xiao and Dolores arrived at a secluded valley following the instruction. Ye Xiao placed his hand on a rock, activating a hidden secret mechanism. The ground shook violently as a massive structure slowly rose from the earth. They stood before the entrance to the dragon's lair, an extremely dangerous hidden dungeon. Dolores expressed concern about confronting a dragon, but Ye Xiao reassured her that they were only going in to assess the situation. He explained that he knew about the place thanks to footage from a level 100 berserker who had gone missing there years ago. Ye Xiao revealed his true goal. He had discovered a rare dragon egg inside the cave. Dolores was furious at this insane plan, but Ye Xiao began to flatter her, calling her a divine-level spellcaster. He continued to praise Dolores, saying that a mere dragon was nothing compared to her power. Immediately afterward, they spotted a massive level 5 radiant dragon sleeping soundly atop a mountain of treasure. Dolores instantly froze, terrified by the monster's overwhelming power. She paled, realizing it was a level 5 dragon, and secretly rejoiced that she had brought a teleportation scroll for escape. Ye Xiao still asked if they could manage, but Dolores decided she would let him go in first while she waited outside. Dolores explained that they had less than a 1% chance of victory, but this only made Ye Xiao more determined to seize the egg. She flatly refused Ye Xiao's offer to double her commission and declared her withdrawal. Ye Xiao hastily explained that they only needed to buy time, not fight, but Dolores still didn't believe it was possible. To persuade her, Ye Xiao played his final card, triple the commission, stunning Dolores. Convinced by the reward, Dolores decided, "Damn it. If I have to risk my life, I'll do it." She channeled all her power and shouted, promising to give her all to buy a maximum of 3 minutes. Meanwhile, Ye Xiao activated a series of buffs, doubling his stats, and reminded himself that preparation was the key to survival. Dolores charged straight at the radiant dragon, reminding Ye Xiao that the buffs only lasted 3 minutes and the rest was up to. Standing above the monster's head, she challenged that for the next 3 minutes, even it would have to submit to her power. Immediately, giant ice arrows pierced the dragon's scales, making it roar in pain. Seizing the opportunity, Ye Xiao sneaked into the lair and signaled silence as he approached a massive dragon egg. He cautiously placed his hand on the egg, whispering that if they were discovered, both of them would surely die. Outside, Dolores began to tire with only a minute and a half remaining, pushed back by the dragon's stream of fire. Ye Xiao realized the egg was heavier than he thought and called Ebisu over to lend a hand, causing Ebisu to complain that he had never done anything so shady. Ebisu jumped onto a nearby anvil and cried out in pain. Finally, Ye Xiao managed to lift the egg and, along with Ebisu, hurriedly looked for an escape route. The radiant dragon let out an earth-shattering roar when it discovered the thief running away with its egg. Ye Xiao yelled at Ebisu to run quickly while Ebisu was busy being angry about the insult. He loudly called out for Sister Dao for help, and Dolores immediately erected a massive wall of ice. However, the ice wall began to crack the moment the dragon charged into it, unable to hold out for long. Dolores screamed a terrified warning as the dragon prepared to unleash its Dragon King's breath skill. Seeing Dolores also running away, Ye Xiao asked in surprise, and she replied that she could only be invincible for 3 minutes. Both were thrown toward the exit by the terrifying explosion from the dragon's breath. Having just escaped death, Ye Xiao sighed in relief, seeing that both he and the egg were safe. Dolores commented that if the egg hatched into a level 5 dragon, all the effort would be worth it. She didn't forget to remind Ye Xiao about her payment, and her favorability had increased. Ye Xiao prepared to sign a contract with the creature inside, despite Ybi's worrying that 100 million would be wasted. He placed his hand on the egg, pouring all his hope into this fateful hatching. Under the influence of the energy, the dragon egg cracked open in a blinding flash of light. From within, a small green dragon appeared, astonishing Ye Xiao. Both were confused because it didn't look like a radiant dragon. Dolores even joked that perhaps the mother dragon had been deceived. The little dragon cried out with confused, immature sounds at the person in front of it. Ye Xiao and Dolores were still trying to figure out the strange color of the newly hatched creature. But when the status panel appeared, Ye Xiao was stunned to learn that this was a mythical tier Azure Sky Dragon. Its skills were ridiculously powerful, with names like Dragon King's Breath and Dragon King's Wrath. Dolores admitted that Ye Xiao had hit the jackpot, as the dragon's power upon maturity would be unimaginable. Ye Xiao happily rubbed the little dragon's head and gave it the affectionate nickname Little Gray. He picked up Little Gray, proud that no one would mistake his pet now, then suddenly noticed the item in Wibis's hand. Wibis angrily shouted his real name while Ye Xiao was only curious about the badge. Ye Xiao snatched the badge from Wibis and was astonished to realize it might be the ferocious badge. The information panel confirmed it was a calamity tier item with insane stats, while Wibis screamed for it back. Ye Xiao declared he would borrow the badge to compensate for the risk Wibis had caused, forcing Wibis to demand 10,000 coins a day. He tried to use sweet words to coax old Wibis, but only received a retort exposing his fickle nature. Ignoring the complaints, Ye Xiao pinned the badge to his clothes, happily thinking that hunting goblins would now be as easy as flipping a hand. Suddenly, a system notification appeared, stating that Ye Xiao had activated a hidden quest, Finding the ferocious fang, Dolores explained that it was a divine-grade weapon forged from the fangs of an abyssal beast, but reaching the abyssal continent would be a long journey. Just then, another notification popped up, announcing that his daily playtime was over and he would be forced to log out in 3 minutes. "I'll be going now," Dolores said as she opened a teleportation gate. "Call me if anything happens, but remember to have the money ready." Before logging out, Yexiao reminded himself that the game was still in beta, and he needed rest to preserve his body. The next day at Yexiao's home, the gaming community was buzzing about the game's difficulty and the fact that a player named Yexiao had reached level 10 inches just one day. News reports also covered the serious consequences of the game: mass player deaths, organ failure, and warnings issued by multiple governments. Reading the news, Yexiao merely sneered, "A bunch of weaklings. When the game merges with reality, all of you will suffer." Suddenly, his phone vibrated. He picked it up and read a message from Qin Yanran, demanding he come to Northwa Hospital with food and pay Zhou Hong's medical bill. "Damn it, I forgot about that crazy bitch," Yexiao cursed, regretting not having blocked her number from the start. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Qin Yanran asked Zhou Hong, who was lying in the hospital bed, if Yexiao would come after the sudden call. Zhou Hong confidently replied he wouldn't dare not to come, and Qin Yanran agreed, believing Yexiao loved her to the core and would surely rush over immediately. A doctor entered the room, announcing that Zhou Hong could be discharged soon after the bill was settled, which surprised Qin Yanran. The doctor explained that the hospital was overwhelmed with patients suffering organ failure from playing the Doomsday game, which angered Qin Yanran, who accused them of disregarding the lives of the poor. Zhou Hong restrained her, then turned to ask about the hospital payment, but Qin Yanran said Yexiao hadn't given her this month's allowance yet. He was surprised and asked about the 200,000 monthly stipend, to which Qin Yanran replied with disdain, saying she was sick of seeing Yexiao and his dirty money. Zhou Hong then told her to message Yexiao for more money so he could open a gaming studio, and Qin Yanran was confident that a few sweet words would make Yexiao obediently hand over the cash. The scene shifted back to Yexiao's villa. Inside, Yexiao was still fast asleep, completely unaware of the duo's scheme. Yexiao groggily sat up in bed, muttering that it was time to enter the game. Immediately, his hand pressed the enter game button on the virtual interface. Appearing in the novice village, Yexiao summoned Ebisu, urging that they needed to level up quickly and leave this place. He noticed that after just one day, the number of players had increased significantly, making the village crowded. Yexiao's level 10 status quickly attracted attention, and a crowd surrounded him with various invitations and pleas. Annoyed, Yexiao decided to run away. Seeing this, the crowd cheered and chased after him, believing he was heading to a premium monster grinding spot. Leading a procession of people behind him, Yexiao hadn't expected his actions to cause such a massive crowd effect. However, upon reaching the dangerous level 10 challenge area, the crowd hesitated and stopped, astonished to see Yexiao intending to go alone. Having shaken off his followers, Yexiao and Ebisu finally reached the desolate area safely. He approached an ancient fortress, guarded by a giant knight, and confirmed this was the location he was looking for. The massive gatekeeper blocked the path, warning that this was no place for a child. Yexiao politely stated that he was there to begin the promotion challenge, surprising the gatekeeper with his leveling speed. He confidently declared he would go alone, despite the gatekeeper warning that it was suicide, even on normal difficulty. Brushing aside the advice, Yexiao calmly walked past, leaving the gatekeeper sighing wearily at the recklessness of youth. He stepped into the center of a magic circle, officially activating the challenge. A series of difficulty options appeared, ranging from normal to abyss, and Yexiao wondered if soloing the hardest level was feasible. Without hesitation, he made his choice, and a powerful surge of energy enveloped his body. The gatekeeper was stunned when the system announced the challenge had begun on abyss difficulty, unable to believe someone dared to solo at this level. Teleported to a gloomy forest, Yexiao recalled how much he struggled in his previous life, having to carry the entire team, especially Qin Yanran. Inside the dark forest, Yexiao asserted, "This time, I am here for revenge." He summoned his spirit beast. "Little Ash, come out." With his mythical grade beast flying beside him, Yexiao was confident he had nothing to fear. Suddenly, he sensed danger, lurking as a pair of red eyes flashed in the bushes. A level 10 mutated snow wolf with 5,000 HP appeared, astonishing Yexiao. He immediately commanded his spirit beast, "Little Ash, go." The brave little dragon charged straight toward the giant wolf. Little Ash activated the Dragon King's breath skill, firing a powerful stream of energy. The attack hit, wiping out 2,500 HP from the snow wolf. Immediately after, Little Ash rushed in, attacking continuously with sharp claws. Severely wounded, the snow wolf roared furiously, and a terrifying red aura emanated from its body. Yexiao realized the monster had entered a berserk state. Undaunted, Little Ash soared into the sky, unleashing the world-shaking roar skill. The dragon's roar stunned the snow wolf, freezing it in place. Seizing the opportunity, Little Ash spat out a stream of fire, incinerating the stunned enemy. The snow wolf collapsed, and a notification confirmed its defeat. Immediately, Little Ash was enveloped in light and leveled up 4 times, greatly delighting Yexiao. He was astonished to see Little Ash's stats skyrocket, and that it had unlocked a new, overwhelmingly powerful skill. Yahello asked Ebisu about the spoils, and learned they were 2 black gold grade items. Holding the new bow and dagger in his hands, Yahello laughed heartily, feeling that this start was far better than his previous life. Yahello and Ebisu were startled when a stream of dark energy emanated from the entrance ahead. From the darkness, a demonized level 10 abyssal tiger roared, and Yahello realized it was a mutated monster. Without hesitation, he commanded his spirit beast. Little Ash, go. The small azure sky dragon bravely charged straight at the gigantic beast. Yahello was astonished to realize the presence of a demonized monster. He immediately commanded, Little Ash, advance. The tiny dragon spirit beast did not flinch before an enemy many times its size. After the battle, Yahello tiredly sat on the spoils, calculating that he would sell them for a large sum of money. However, he dismissed the idea of turning back and resolutely headed toward the final boss, despite Ebisu's doubts about Little Ash's capability. He confidently explained that in his previous life, this boss was only Lord tier. Standing before the teleportation gate, Yahello asserted that defeating the boss would be as easy as flipping a hand. Old Hui, today I will show you what professionalism looks like, Yahello declared as he stepped onto the sanctuary stairs, leaving Ebisu with a skeptical look. The system announced that he had fallen into the abyss, but Yahello merely curled his lip in disdain. He boldly declared that he would abandon the emotional burdens of his previous life to become the messenger of the abyss, the ultimate power of the apocalypse. Yahello spread his arms wide, ready to embrace and conquer all the challenges of the abyss. Finally, he and Little Ash faced the ruler of this place, a gigantic figure seated on a throne. The information panel appeared, revealing the boss's identity. Abyss Wanderer, King, Tier. Ebisu mocked him, while Yahello was stunned to realize the boss was much stronger than he remembered. He quickly analyzed its weakness. A pure mage with 5,000 spirit points, no physical damage, but one spell was enough to finish him off. Facing the King Tier boss, Yahello cautiously ordered Little Ash not to use skills arbitrarily, but to wait for his command. Yahello ordered Little Ash to continuously move and attack the Abyss Wanderer from a distance. Obeying the command, the little dragon immediately spewed a powerful stream of fire. Little Ash circled, harassing the gigantic boss while Yahello cheered him on. Yahello laughed gleefully, urging his spirit beast not to give the opponent a chance to cast skills. He confidently clenched his fist, continuing to command the attack to wear down the boss's vitality. Under continuous attack, the Abyss Wanderer's eyes flared with angry blue light. The boss suddenly stopped moving, making Yahello and Ebisu feel that something was wrong. The Abyss Wanderer slowly turned, directing its murderous gaze toward Yahello. It raised its staff high, accumulating a massive magic circle, causing Ebisu to frantically scream, "Dodge!" A terrifying energy explosion threw Yahello back, making him realize he was in serious trouble. Targeted by the boss, Yahello desperately fled and screamed for Little Ash to come to the rescue. The Abyss Wanderer fired 2 streams of magical energy, cornering Yahello. Just then, Little Ash swooped in and blasted a stream of Dragon King's breath at the boss's staff. The surprise attack hit the Abyss Wanderer directly in the face, causing it to roar in pain. The boss staggered backward, while Little Ash let out a powerful roar. An earth-shattering explosion engulfed the Abyss Wanderer, ending the battle. Yahello gasped as a series of notifications appeared, congratulating him on completing the challenge and receiving reward. He turned to tease Old Hui for his cowardice, but Ebisu immediately retorted. Finally, Yahello approached the boss's corpse, ready to check the spoil. A system announcement echoed throughout the game world. Player Yahello has become the first person to complete the Abyssal Difficulty Class Advancement Challenge. In a crowded square, players buzzed with discussion upon learning that the world record breaker came from the Great Xia Nation. A female commander ordered her subordinate, "This person is extraordinary. Investigate him for me." The subordinate named Xiaoqi reported that the player came from the Jiangcheng region. Another man in the group immediately gave the order, "Send people to Jiangcheng immediately." Meanwhile, in the novice village, another group of players was astonished to learn that the level 10 professional player also originated from their village. Elsewhere, Zhou Hong excitedly told Qin Yanran that if they cooperated with this professional player, they would definitely get rich. He continued to suggest drawing Yahello into the game, but Qin Yanran haughtily refused, unwilling to lower herself. Zhou Hong continued to dream that even young masters like Jiang Han would have to look up to them, but Qin Yanran remained skeptical that a game could change their lives. When Zhou Hong brought up asking Yahello for help again, Qin Yanran brushed him off, until he asked about this month's living expenses. Finally, Qin Yanran changed the subject, whining for Zhou Hong not to mention Yahello anymore and to teach her how to play the game. Returning to Yahello, he looked disappointedly at the boss's soul drop. A small fragment. He realized this was an abyssal stone fragment, an item he had never even seen in his previous life. Deciding to appraise it later, Yahello prioritized leaving the novice village to reach the main city. As soon as he stepped out of the challenge area, he heard the astonished shout of the guard, who couldn't believe someone had overcome the abyssal difficulty alone. After a moment of shock, The guard obeyed the order and activated the massive teleportation gate. The system congratulated Ye Xiao on passing the challenge and granted him a guiding token for free entry and exit to the main city. The guard also presented him with an additional reward for completing the Abyssal Tier challenge, a badge of courage. Ye Xiao inspected the item and was satisfied to see it was an epic tier emblem that boosted all attributes. He excitedly called Little Ash and Old Hui, preparing to enter the main city with his 2 spirit beasts. The full view of Windleaf Main City appeared before his eye. Ye Xiao and his 2 spirit beasts entered the city, noticing that it was much emptier than in his previous life's memory. He revealed their goal was to find the beast tamer Gutol, making Ebisu wonder why they needed to find another beast tamer. Ye Xiao confidently strode down the city's deserted cobblestone street. Soon, he found his target, the beast tamer Gutol, sitting outside a building. Ye Xiao offered to change classes, but Gutol arrogantly refused, until Ye Xiao mentioned the hidden class beast speaker. Gutol was skeptical and set a condition. Ye Xiao must prove his strength by bringing back 100 eyes of young demon wolves. The system assigned the quest, but Ye Xiao merely sneered, as he had no intention of wasting time killing 100 elite monsters. When Gutol scolded him as useless, Ye Xiao calmly replied that he didn't need to kill the demon wolves and that one item was enough to prove his strength. Gutol was stunned when he saw the item in Ye Xiao's hand, recognizing it as an epic tier badge of courage. Ye Xiao confirmed it and corrected him, stating that he hadn't just cleared the Hell tier challenge, but the Abyss tier. When Gutol asked about the number of members in his party, Ye Xiao raised one finger and confirmed he had gone alone. Gutol's attitude immediately changed. He burst into laughter and praised Ye Xiao as an extraordinary talent, a true dragon among men. Ye Xiao secretly marveled at the speed with which the beast tamer had changed his tune. When asked again about the class change, Gutol agreed but requested to see the spirit beast that helped Ye Xiao clear the Abyss challenge. Gutol was speechless when Ye Xiao summoned Little Ash, exclaiming in horror that it was a divine tier spirit beast, a baby dragon. He was so moved that he trembled, admitting that this was the spirit beast of his dreams. Gutol suddenly announced that the beast speaker class was unworthy of a divine tier spirit beast, and that he would introduce Ye Xiao to the royal beast tamer master. Ye Xiao smiled as he accepted the letter of recommendation from Gutol, secretly thinking his luck was excellent. Ye Xiao received the letter of recommendation along with a notification activating the hidden quest Whispers of the Dragon. On the way, Ebisu was jealous of his master's luck, but Ye Xiao revealed that he had something else to do before heading to the royal city. When Ebisu curiously asked, Ye Xiao only mysteriously replied that he needed to complete another hidden quest. Ebisu was astonished that Ye Xiao knew so many hidden quests as they approached a large, church-like building. Outside the building, a noblewoman named Karel was standing with her bodyguard. Ye Xiao confirmed his target was Chirelle, the wealthy widow of the former city lord, confusing Ebisu. As Ye Xiao approached, a bodyguard immediately blocked his path and demanded his identity. Ignoring the guard, Ye Xiao addressed Lady Chirelle directly, noticing her melancholy expression and offering his help. Kareli replied that she had indeed lost a personal item and would be very grateful if he could help retrieve it. Ye Xiao happily accepted, and a system notification confirmed he had received the hidden quest to find the flower for Chirelle. The bodyguard once again tried to stop Ye Xiao, demanding that he halt. Ye Xiao continued the conversation, asking Lady Chirelle if he could help alleviate her sorrow. Lady Chirelle confirmed she had lost an item and would be very grateful if he could find it. Ye Xiao confidently accepted the quest, while the system notification requested him to bring back a beautiful flower. After leaving, Ebisu wondered why they were heading into town instead of searching for the flower in a garden. Ye Xiao explained that it wasn't an ordinary flower, and he knew exactly where it was. He confidently declared the flower was right here, much to Ebisu's astonishment as they stood before a tool shop. Inside, the shop owner welcomed Ye Xiao, and he immediately asked to buy the treasure box. The owner proudly boasted that his treasure boxes could contain anything from prehistoric dragon bones to legendary tier staves. Ye Xiao confidently requested the most expensive type of box. The owner introduced the highest grade treasure chest for 10,000 gold, but Ye Xiao coldly replied that one was not enough. He announced that he would buy every chest the store had, leaving the owner dumbfounded. Ye Xiao grew impatient, ordering the shop owner to open all the chests immediately. The first chest opened to reveal a bronze tier battle axe. The next one only contained a large healing potion, and the third was yet another mundane item, size increasing bread. After 99 empty chests piled up on the floor, the shop owner announced that only one remained. With an expectant look, Ye Xiao opened the final chest himself. Inside, a stunning flower radiated brilliant light. It was exactly the item he was looking for. Holding the flower, Ye Xiao smiled contentedly and called Ebisu to leave with him. In a luxurious bathroom, Lady Chirelle was relaxing in a bath. She skeptically asked her maid, Liz, if anyone would actually find the flower for her. Liz tried to reassure her mistress, believing that with her charm, luck would not abandon them. Suddenly, Liz rushed in breathlessly to report that a young man had brought the flower, causing Chirelle to exclaim in shock, "What?" Chirelle jumped up in the bath, unable to believe that someone had actually found it for her. After changing, Shirley met Ye Xiao and asked again to confirm that he had truly found what she wanted. Ye Xiao confidently handed her a small chest and invited her to examine it herself. Shirley opened the chest, overjoyed to see the magnificent flower, the very thing she had been searching for. Shirley asked Ye Xiao what reward he desired, but he refused both money and rare treasure. Hearing this, Shirley blushed and suggested that she would willingly become the reward for him. Ye Xiao was utterly flustered by Shirley's bold offer, secretly thinking that this was too much to handle. He quickly waved his hands, explaining that she had misunderstood his intention. Ye Xiao awkwardly stated that he only needed her help to obtain citizen status. Sophia smiled, teasing Ye Xiao and saying the request was too easy, while her favorability toward him increased by 20 points. Sophia ordered her maid Liz to prepare the documents, and Ye Xiao took the opportunity to express his desire to purchase real estate to settle down in Windleaf City. Sophia appeared surprised but approved of Ye Xiao's decision to settle down. However, she wondered why he chose to buy land in the West District, a place that was not prosperous at all. Ye Xiao stood firm on his choice and asked for her help. Sophia agreed to arrange someone to contact the real estate agent. Ebisu questioned Ye Xiao about why he wasn't buying land in the prosperous East District, arguing that this was a losing investment. Ye Xiao thought to himself, recalling his previous life when Windleaf City was soon attacked by strange creatures, resulting in the Lord's death and the near-total destruction of the East District. He knew that the sparsely populated West District would attract less attention from monsters, suffer the least damage, and later become the most valuable area. He reaffirmed his decision, and Sophia agreed to arrange a real estate agent in the West District for him. Ebisu grumbled once more about Ye Xiao choosing to buy land in the desolate West District instead of the bustling East District. Ye Xiao recalled the scene of the city's destruction, where the current city lord would perish, and most of the East District would turn to ashes. Conversely, the West District would become the safest and most valuable place, proving this was a deal he couldn't lose. Sophia announced that the real estate contracts were complete, totaling 340 residential areas and 184 commercial properties worth 1,200 million gold, and Ye Xiao agreed to pay immediately. The agent happily cooperated and handed him the citizenship papers, surprising Ye Xiao that he had officially become a citizen of Windleaf City. Sophia corrected him, stating that Ye Xiao was not just a citizen of Windleaf City, but a first-class citizen of the entire Dragon Phoenix Empire. Ebisu was astonished, explaining the immense value of this status, which led Ye Xiao to begin speculating about Sophia's royal lineage. Sophia replied playfully, and Ye Xiao immediately seized the opportunity to ask about the royal beast tamer. She revealed that the person was her Uncle Stare, and Ye Xiao honestly stated that he wanted to learn more about the profession. Sophia promised to try and contact him for Ye Xiao, who was grateful and raised her hand to show his appreciation. At this gesture, she shyly suggested that he stop calling her lady and instead call her by her name, Sophia. As a series of system announcements about new achievements and levels appeared, Ye Xiao smugly ignored Ebisu's mock. Elsewhere, other players were buzzing with discussion over the server-wide announcements that Ye Xiao had triggered. They complained about the new hierarchy in the game, feeling unfair that they had become the lower class. Meanwhile, at a leveling spot, Qin Yanran also expressed astonishment at Night Xiao's rapid advancement. She sat down on the ground, tiredly lamenting that if they had a top player leading them, they wouldn't be struggling like. She continued to complain about the team having to struggle to fight a few weak goblins. Hearing this, the team members immediately showed annoyance, criticizing her for only complaining without contributing anything. Zhou Hong quickly tried to mediate, but Qin Yanran angrily declared that she would leave the group immediately. She called Zhou Hong to come along, ignoring her former teammates' mockery of her princess attitude. When only the two of them remained, Zhou Hong worried about leveling up, but Qin Yanran blamed him for failing to protect her. He had no choice but to apologize, and then suggested she contact Night Xiao for help. Zhou Hong continued to plead, and finally, Qin Yanran reluctantly agreed to message Ye Xiao after logging out of the game. Having received the promise, Zhou Hong happily waited for good news while Qin Yanran said goodbye and began logging out. Qin Yanran told herself that even though Night Xiao's way of spending money was a bit crude, she decided to give him another chance. Sitting on her bed, she decided to proactively message him one more time. She drafted a message asking Night Xiao to buy equipment and help her and Zhou Hong grind levels, promising to consider being his girlfriend if he helped her get onto the ranking. With a smug smile, Qin Yanran pressed send, thinking to herself that she was being generous by forgiving him this time. 5 minutes passed, and she began to wonder why she still hadn't received a reply from Night Xiao. She was horrified when she saw the notification on her phone. Night Xiao had deleted her from his friends list. Rage flared up, and Qin Yanran screamed into her phone. How dare he? She frantically yelled, declaring a complete end with Night Xiao, and swearing she would never forgive him, even if he knelt down and begged. Meanwhile, in the East District of Windleaf City, Ye Xiao was contemplating how he would soon make his West District as prosperous as this area. He stopped in front of an appraisal shop, confirming that this was the place he needed. Inside, the appraiser announced that his shop only accepted equipment appraisal for silver-tier items and above. Ye Xiao smiled, held out a necklace, and asked if he could appraise dark gold-tier equipment. The appraiser was utterly stunned, when he realized it was truly a dark gold item. He quickly guaranteed that he would personally handle it, but Ye Xiao coldly interrupted, only caring about the success rate. The appraiser boasted that he had a success rate above 80%, but the appraisal fee for dark gold items was 100 gold. Ye Xiao calmly replied that he had many more items that needed appraising. Ye Xiao dumped a table full of rare equipment, stunning the appraiser with his wealth, and urged him to hurry up. Moments later, the Nightfall necklace was successfully appraised, revealing astonishing stats. The appraiser stammered that the item's stats were insane, but Ye Xiao calmly asked him to continue. Still amazed, the appraiser secretly thought that Ye Xiao was a god of wealth incarnate, while rushing to continue his work at Ye Xiao's urging. The appraiser examined the dark necklace, a level 10 dark gold item with incredible stats. He stammered that the stats were insane, but Ye Xiao calmly remarked that they were just acceptable and asked him to continue. After leaving the shop, Ye Xiao checked his status panel, satisfied that his stats had significantly improved after reaching level 11. Ebisu asked about the next plan, and Ye Xiao decided to go to the Grey Mist Valley to grind levels while waiting for news from Sophia. When they arrived, Ebisu was shocked to realize this was an area for level 20 monsters, but Ye Xiao merely confirmed it calmly. A pack of level 21 gray hyenas with glowing red eyes appeared, making Ye Xiao slightly annoyed because they traveled in a horde. Without hesitation, Ye Xiao ordered Little Ash, his dragon, to attack. Little Ash immediately unleashed a powerful dragon's breath, incinerating the hyena pack and yielding a large amount of experience points. Ye Xiao sat leisurely on a chest, explaining that this was the ideal spot, because monsters would come to him, prompting Ebisu to sarcastically remark that he certainly knew how to enjoy himself. Sipping his tea, Ye Xiao reminisced about his miserable past, and burst into hearty laughter at his current life, while Little Ash continued to slaughter monsters. Soon, a beam of light enveloped Ye Xiao as he and Little Ash simultaneously leveled up to level 12. Standing in a battlefield littered with hyena corpses, he calculated that reaching level 20 would only take a few days at this pace. Suddenly, Ye Xiao discovered a strange item that had dropped from one of the monsters. It was a basic skill scroll, Fireball, leading Ebisu to wonder if a beast tamer using magic wasn't ridiculous. Ignoring the comment, Ye Xiao decided that having extra skills was never a bad thing and immediately crushed the scroll to learn the spell. He excitedly tested the new skill, launching a fireball toward a surviving hyena. However, the explosion only dealt a mere 31 points of damage. Ye Xiao was stunned by the skill's weak power, while Ebisu burst out laughing, mocking that the fireball was weaker than Little Ash's fart. Noticing that it was late, Ye Xiao decided to log out, preparing for the third day of the apocalypse about to begin. Ye Xiao knew that the game was about to be publicly released, forcibly enrolling all citizens over 16, and that the world was about to change forever. Just as expected, an earthquake began to shake the city during the night. The sky was torn apart by strange lightning, signaling a terrifying event about to unfold. In the streets, citizens panicked as a virtual screen appeared, announcing their entry into the apocalyptic game. Crowds of people from everywhere were suddenly teleported to an unfamiliar land, stunned and unable to comprehend what was happening. Among them were Qin Yanran and Zhou Hong, both surprised to be automatically pulled into the game. Zhou Hong realized the scale of the situation and asked Qin Yanran if she had contacted Ye Xiao for help. Qin Yanran dismissed him contemptuously, declaring that she would seek assistance from the legendary top player Night Xiao. She smiled confidently, believing that no man could resist her beauty. A system announcement echoed everywhere, confirming that all citizens had been forcibly logged in and could not log out. The announcement continued by explaining the brutal rules. In-game location corresponded to real life, and death here was permanent. Meanwhile, another group of players eagerly discussed Night Xiao, believing he was the key to escaping this situation and determined to find him. At Novice Village 001, a soldier reported to the leader that they might be permanently trapped. The leader, Immovable Mountain, realized the severity of the situation and immediately asked for news about the top player, Night Xiao. The subordinate reported that Night Xiao could not be contacted because he had already reached level 12 and was no longer in the Novice Village. Immovable Mountain was astonished by Night Xiao's leveling speed, considering that even a beta player had only just reached level 4. Recognizing Night Xiao's extraordinary nature, Immovable Mountain ordered his men to find him at all costs. At the same time, Ye Xiao received a message requesting him to go to the Duke's mansion to receive investigation information. Ye Xiao happily set off, excited to finally get news about the royal beast tamer. Immovable Mountain, a high-level player, anxiously inquired about the whereabouts of the top player, Ye Xiao. A soldier reported that contact was impossible because Ye Xiao had reached level 12 and left the Novice Village. Immovable Mountain was astonished to learn that even a beta tester was only level 4, highlighting the game's difficulty. Recognizing Ye Xiao's extraordinary nature, Immovable Mountain ordered his subordinates to find him at all costs. Meanwhile, Ye Xiao received a message summoning him to the Duke's mansion and immediately set off. He was excited because he was about to receive news about the royal beast tamer he was searching for. Ye Xiao entered the mansion, where Sophia was already waiting at the foot of the stairs. With a radiant smile, Sophia welcomed him and said she missed him very much. Ye Xiao immediately blushed in embarrassment, secretly admiring her captivating beauty. He quickly regained his composure and asked Sophia for news of the royal beast tamer, but she said her Uncle Stare had not yet returned. Thinking he had been disappointed, Ye Xiao was then informed by Sophia that she had information about a hidden profession right in Fengye City. Extremely surprised and delighted, he eagerly asked her for the exact location of the treasure. Sophia explained that it was located in a hidden dungeon beneath the lair of a powerful dragon, but Ye Xiao realized it was the Labyrinth Cave. He pretended he had only heard about it by chance, but secretly thought about the countless times he had grinded this dungeon in his previous life. Sophia asserted that the place was guarded by a dragon, which puzzled Ye Xiao because, in his memory, the boss there was a demonized monster. Despite the change, Ye Xiao decided to check it out himself, even though Sophia worriedly warned that it was a deadly level 80 area. He confidently reassured her, while Ebisu, sitting on his shoulder, blurted out that a dungeon was nothing compared to the time he stole a dragon egg. Ye Xiao declared that if the price was right, even dragons could be defeated, and the best person for the job was his sister Tao. He held up the Supreme Palace card, astonishing Sophia, who couldn't believe a level 12 player possessed such a precious item. A burst of blue light erupted, and Dolores proudly appeared, asking who had summoned her. Dolores called Ye Xiao little brother and asked if he remembered her, while he replied that he had a big task requiring her help. When Dolores guessed the mission involved a dragon again, Ye Xiao slyly confirmed it. Dolores panicked and refused, recounting that the last time she stole a dragon egg, she injured her back and still hadn't recovered. Ye Xiao offered a reward of 2 billion gold, forcing Dolores to reconsider. She said she needed a month to heal, but Ye Xiao offered to show her the location of the holy spring. Shocked by this information, Dolores agreed to go along if he truly knew the spring's location. Ye Xiao sealed the deal and announced they would set off immediately, surprising Dolores. As they left, Ye Xiao revealed that the holy spring was located in the Lost Land. Sophia watched them go, secretly thinking that Ye Xiao was truly an extraordinary person. Sophia's favorability toward him increased by 10 points, and she wondered if he would become a god-level player in the future. Meanwhile, outside the novice village, a player named Wang Qiang died permanently after being killed twice by a goblin. News of the real death in the game spread, causing other players to panic and seek out the level 12 player for help. Ye Xiao and Dolores arrived at the Dragon Mountain Range. He warned that places that look peaceful are often the most dangerous. Ye Xiao admitted that the monsters here were all level 80, and they needed to avoid unnecessary combat to reach the dungeon. A gigantic black dragon soared through the sky, patrolling the mountain range. Dolores anxiously asked Ye Xiao if he was sure about the entrance, as she did not want to be discovered by that tier 5 beast. Ye Xiao reassured her that the dungeon entrance was hidden beneath a slope and they would not be discovered. He confidently led the way through a narrow ravine, proving he was right. The two finally reached an ancient stone gate, the dungeon entrance, while the dragon continued to circle in the distance. At the dungeon entrance, Dolores announced that she could not activate the gate because she couldn't sense any mana. Ye Xiao confidently stepped forward, saying to let him handle it. He smiled mysteriously and pulled out a small dagger. Ye Xiao used his blood to activate the gate, astonishing Dolores, who asked how he knew how to open it. The stone gate slowly opened, and Dolores couldn't believe he had actually done it. Ye Xiao once again asserted to Dolores that he would be the one to open the gate. He prepared the dagger, ready to perform his action. As the characters on the gate glowed thanks to Ye Xiao's blood, Dolores again questioned his knowledge. The gate opened completely, and Dolores once again exclaimed in astonishment at Ye Xiao's success. He led her inside, saying he had his own methods, while Dolores secretly thought he was too mysterious. The system announced they had entered the Dark Labyrinth dungeon, a dangerous area, causing Ebisu on his shoulder to complain. Dolores worried about the 3-hour time limit, while Ye Xiao realized it had been shortened compared to his previous life. Ebisu warned that this mission was even more dangerous than facing a tier 5 dragon, but Ye Xiao turned to provoke Dolores. Teased, Dolores proudly declared that she was a divine-level spellcaster and would not be afraid of a mere labyrinth. Ye Xiao agreed and quickly asked if she knew the invisibility spell. Dolores scorned it as a low-level spell, but Ye Xiao reassured her that it was enough as long as it concealed them. She easily cast the spell, turning both of them into faint, ghostly figures, which impressed Ye Xiao. Ye Xiao accurately listed the number and level of the monsters ahead, stunning Dolores, who asked if he was a prophet. He was vague about his knowledge, secretly thinking about clearing the labyrinth 800 times, then told her he knew nothing more. Facing the horde of monsters, Ye Xiao instructed Dolores on how to sneak past, which angered her, while he remained confident in his experience. Ye Xiao told Dolores to watch carefully, then led the charge into the monster-filled area. He moved at a terrifying speed, gliding past the back of a lizard monster without being detected. Dolores exclaimed in astonishment, unable to believe he had just passed a level 60 elite monster without it noticing. She then quickly moved through the spike trap area, while Ye Xiao waited ahead. The two entered a large, ruined area, and Ye Xiao secretly reminded himself to always be ready for combat. Before them was a giant pig-like monster guarding a chest, making Ye Xiao realize that everything was different from his previous life. He asked Dolores about its level, and she casually replied that it was a level 100 berserk boss with mediocre power. Ye Xiao declared he would go open the chest, and asked Dolores to be ready to attack. She agreed to cast an absolute defense buff on him. He cautiously approached, warning Ebisu not to act recklessly, but Ebisu just told him to worry about himself first. Ye Xiao was full of anticipation, thinking that the hidden class change scroll was about to be his. But upon opening the chest, he was stunned to see a stone and a parchment scroll inside, completely different from what he expected. Just then, the Maze Guardian woke up with glowing red eyes, looming right behind him. A stream of frost shock shot from a distance, partially freezing the monster. Dolores shouted angrily, urging Ye Xiao to run immediately. Ye Xiao ran while shouting for help, luring the enraged monster to chase him. Dolores cast the 5-point magic array, creating a complex magical circle in the air. A massive bolt of lightning struck down, leaving the giant monster stunned. Meanwhile, Ye Xiao checked the loot, and Ebisu had to exclaim in amazement at his luck. Ye Xiao realized the stone was a divine punishment grade item that could reset cooldowns, reducing the cooldown of the brutality chapter to just 3 days. While the boss was still stunned, Dolores asked Ye Xiao whether they should continue fighting or leave. Ye Xiao decided to fight, urging Dolores to go all out. Dolores responded by unleashing the 5 thunder magic array directly at the colossal boss. Hit by the attack, the monster let out an earth-shattering roar. Ye Xiao was confused, wondering if the boss was going berserk. Suddenly, a clawed hand emerged from the ground, signaling a summoning. A giant dragon crawled out and immediately breathed fierce fire. Ye Xiao realized in horror that the boss wasn't going berserk but was summoning reinforcement. He shouted a warning that it was a dragon, and urged everyone to flee. Facing the destructive stream of fire, the group hastily fled the cave. They ran in panic as both the dragon and the boss pursued them from behind. Dolores wondered how an eerie spirit beast could summon a dragon. The boss roared, charging straight toward Ye Xiao with bloodshot eyes. Ye Xiao suddenly stopped, declaring he would take down the boss first. He confidently held up the time stone and the brutality chapter, ready to test his firepower. With a shout full of indignation, Ye Xiao activated the item, aiming at the monster. A faint beam of energy shot out, dealing only 242 damage to the boss. Ye Xiao was stunned by the meager damage number, while Ebisu scoffed mockingly. The monster paused, blood trickling from the corner of its mouth after the attack. Suddenly, a massive damage number, 932,642, appeared, blowing a large hole through its chest. The system announced that the target's HP had dropped below 20%, activating the instant death effect. A series of system notifications appeared. Ye Xiao had successfully defeated the level 100 boss, and both he and his pet, Little Ash, had jumped to level 20. Dolores stood behind, exclaiming in shock that it was insane for a level 12 novice to defeat a level 100 boss. A world announcement rang out, declaring that player Ye Xiao from the Great Xia region was the first to defeat a level 100 boss, leaving other players stunned. Another group of players couldn't believe their eyes, wondering if this was a game bug or if Ye Xiao wasn't human. In a city, the crowd of players discussed animatedly, some even joking that they were ready to call Ye Xiao their sugar daddy out of sheer admiration. Meanwhile, a group of foreign players suspected Ye Xiao of cheating, while also worrying about the power of players from Great Xia. Back in the cave, Dolores hastily pulled Ye Xiao's arm as the ceiling began to collapse, but he still regretted not having picked up the loot. Dolores yelled that she had opened a teleportation gate and urged him to escape quickly. Ye Xiao reluctantly agreed to prioritize survival. Immediately after they left, the cave collapsed violently, with boulders crashing down thunderously. The cave entrance was now completely blocked by a massive pile of rubble. Outside, the group breathed a sigh of relief, and Ye Xiao thanked Dolores for opening the teleportation gate in time to save their lives. Suddenly, Ye Xiao had a bad feeling and looked up at the sky. The summoned dragon was circling in the air. Its information panel displayed its name as Divine Judgment, Skyfire Dragon with an unknown level. Dolores recognized the deadly danger posed by the Divine Judgment Dragon and frantically declared she would leave immediately. The two once again had to flee desperately from the dragon's stream of fire, with Dolores shouting at Ye Xiao not to forget to send her the location and payment. After escaping, the scene shifted to the main city of Fengyi. Ye Xiao went to meet Sophia, who was extremely surprised that he had actually retrieved the item from the maze. Sophia praised Ye Xiao profusely. He feigned modesty, saying it was just a small matter, prompting Ebisu to speak up and expose him. Sophia asked how to use the scroll to unlock the hidden profession, but Ye Xiao, after reviewing it, said that this was not a typical class change scroll. Sophia asked again, confused, and Ye Xiao explained that according to Uncle Stir, this scroll would awaken her hidden potential and a unique profession specifically for her. Sophia told Ye Xiao to follow her, leading him up a grand staircase. A bookshelf on the wall shifted, revealing a secret passage. They entered a hidden room, which astonished Ye Xiao because he had never known about this place in his previous life. A man introduced himself as Stir, the royal beast tamer Ye Xiao was looking for. Ye Xiao respectfully greeted him and expressed his desire to unlock his hidden class. Stir agreed to assist Ye Xiao with the class advancement process and asked if he was ready. Ye Xiao eagerly confirmed, and Stir handed him a scroll, explaining that it would awaken his deepest power. Stir mused that he hadn't expected someone to choose this path again. He confirmed that he would supervise Ye Xiao's class advancement process. Stir instructed Ye Xiao to follow the guidance of his heart. As the ritual began, Stir told Ye Xiao to remain calm and not resist when 5 transparent orbs appeared around him. The orbs began to emit a brilliant blue light. Ye Xiao stood amidst the 5 glowing crystal orbs, looking incredibly powerful. Stir exclaimed in shock that it was impossible. All 5 crystal orbs had been activated. Sophia asked her uncle if this was the supreme class advancement, and Stir confirmed it. Stir explained that the 5 orbs symbolized potential, and even he had only managed to activate 3. He wondered if Ye Xiao was even human, having broken the limit and activated all 5 orbs. Sophia also began to ponder, wondering if Night Xiao was in existence far beyond ordinary people. A series of system notifications appeared, congratulating Ye Xiao on successfully advancing to the SSS-Rank hidden class Beast God Master. Ye Xiao reviewed the stats and innate talents of the new class, astonished by their insane power. Stir exclaimed in awe at the power of the Beast God Master class, while Ye Xiao secretly assessed the insane benefits it provided. Ye Xiao examined the blueprint for the Beast God's Claw, an epic tier equipment capable of evolving, and realized he would have to hunt for rare materials. After completing the class advancement, Ye Xiao thanked Stir, who, along with Sophia, praised his limitless potential. With Ebisu on his shoulder, Ye Xiao was confident that he would reach the peak in this life, and his immediate goal was to craft the Beast God's Claw. Elsewhere, a group of 3 players led by a blonde man arrived before a gatekeeper and requested to participate in the Abyss level challenge. The gatekeeper asked about the challenge level they wished to enter, noting that all 3 had very good equipment. The leader, with the ID Tiger Unleashed, proudly declared that he would conquer the Abyss level challenge alone. The gatekeeper was surprised that yet another person wanted to try, but Tiger Unleashed asserted that he lived for challenges and was fearless. Tiger Unleashed's 2 female teammates waited outside for good news, while he confidently promised they wouldn't have to wait long. The gatekeeper muttered to himself, marveling at the difference in players coming from other worlds. Soon after, Tiger Unleashed frantically rushed out of the gate, screaming for help and saying that the monsters inside had mutated. Severely injured, he was helped away by his teammates, while the gatekeeper secretly thought that not everyone could overcome this challenge alone. The scene shifted to the Great Rift, where the level 20 Abyss challenge was taking place. Meanwhile, a chat log among old classmates showed they were worried about the apocalypse situation and Ye Xiao's disappearance. Inside the challenge, Ye Xiao decided to lay low and focus on leveling up. He ordered his dragon spirit beast, Little Ash, to attack a giant stone golem. Little Ash launched a claw strike, dealing 2,354 damage to the golem. The stone golem shattered into pieces under the dragon's power. Ye Xiao praised Little Ash after the victory. Before them lay 2 dark gold-tier weapons that had just dropped from the golem. Ye Xiao was startled when a gigantic stone foot slammed down right in front of him. Looking up, he realized a colossal golem was towering over him, secretly thinking that a boss had appeared. The information panel appeared, confirming this was the level 20 Abyss Supervisor, a king-tier boss. Ye Xiao ordered the dragon spirit beast to attack first, while Ebisu confidently replied that he didn't need support. Meanwhile, outside, the guard was astonished that the boss in the challenge could be defeated, while Tiger Unleashed's group was dejected, having failed despite following Ye Xiao's path. They couldn't believe it and assumed Ye Xiao must have found some trick or exploit to pass. Just then, a system notification appeared in the sky, leaving both groups stunned. Returning to the battle, the Azure Sky Dragon let out a sky-shattering roar as it easily defeated the Abyss Supervisor. Ye Xiao approached the boss's wreckage, disappointed that it dropped no equipment other than a fragment of Abyss stone. The other group of players remained skeptical, insisting that Night Xiao had exploited some loophole. The notification about Night Xiao's achievement confused them even further. With overwhelming power, Ye Xiao's dragon spirit beast easily crushed the boss. He picked up the Abyss stone fragment, wondering why the boss hadn't dropped any equipment. Ye Xiao speculated whether the 2 fragments from the Wanderer and the Supervisor could be used to craft a divine tier item, but Ebisu immediately dashed that hope. Deciding not to dwell on it, Ye Xiao opened a teleportation gate to return. As he stepped through the gate, a voice rang out, congratulating the warrior on completing the challenge. In front of him were 3 guards, the one in the middle handing him a chest as a reward. Inside the chest was an epic tier Stone of Valor, an item used to upgrade the Badge of Valor. With a confident smile, Ye Xiao decided to use the stone immediately. Ye Xiao happily checked the newly acquired legendary tier Badge of Valor. He confidently declared that with this item, he would be invincible in the level 30 area and called upon Little Ash to set off. Suddenly, a system maintenance notification appeared. leaving Ye Xiao stunned and wondering if they were about to return to reality. Other players also received the notification and burst into joy, thinking they could finally leave the game. Everywhere, players began to be automatically logged out of the Doomsday world by the system. Returning to the real world, news reports constantly updated the fact that the game had become an inescapable global reality. On television, a program was interviewing a high-level player named Qingfeng Kuizhu about in-game strategies. Ye Xiao, dressed in casual clothes, sat watching TV, and found the name Qingfeng Kuizhu unfamiliar. The reporter asked about Qingfeng Kuizhu's achievements, and he humbly replied that they were due to luck and the efforts of the entire team. When asked about players being automatically pulled into the game while sleeping, Qingfeng Kuizhu admitted that even officials could not explain the phenomenon. The female reporter mentioned Night Xiao, and Qingfeng Kuizhu asserted that Ye Xiao's power was on a completely different level, far surpassing all the top players combined. Watching the interview, a powerful man in a white suit realized the immense potential of having someone like Night Xiao under his command. He immediately ordered his subordinate, Fu Bo, to use all resources to investigate every piece of information about Night Xiao. Meanwhile, Ye Xiao sat in front of his computer, pondering the game, forcing everyone to log out and noting that the real-world invasion was progressing slower than in his previous life. He decided to use this opportunity to focus on reaching level 30, a crucial milestone for unlocking an additional pet slot. The scene shifted to a desolate land, identified as the level 30 area Grey Mist Valley. Back in the game, Ye Xiao ordered Little Ash to use a shock attack on the two charging quartz golems. Little Ash, the young dragon, swooped down from the air, gathering energy for a powerful strike. The two rock monsters were instantly stunned, causing Ye Xiao to laugh and praise his pet's progress. Little Ash roared, unleashing a powerful stream of dragon breath. The stream of fire shattered the surrounding rocks, prompting Ye Xiao to exclaim in praise. Immediately afterward, the system announced that both Ye Xiao and Little Ash had reached level 24, making him laugh with delight. Meanwhile, other players gathered before the world rankings, unable to believe Ye Xiao's leveling speed and suspecting him of cheating. Qingfeng Kuizhu, the second-ranked player, also had to admit that the gap between him and Night Xiao was growing ever wider. Nevertheless, his team members continued to praise Qingfeng Kuizhu profusely, while he accepted his second-place position. Elsewhere, in the Dragon Nest of Novice Village 9527, a voice rang out, scolding the sleeping Radiant Dragon for losing an egg. The Radiant Dragon faced the Black Skyfire Dragon. Speaking of the burden of the Dragon Prophet, the Radiant Dragon asked the Skyfire Dragon if it could sense the repulsive presence of a human. The Skyfire Dragon was skeptical, believing that such power must come from the gods, and could not possibly belong to a mere human. The Radiant Dragon asserted that it was the Dragon Prophet and decided to entrust the future to that human, despite the Skyfire Dragon protesting that it was a reckless act. Both dragons soared into the sky, the Skyfire Dragon shouting that there was no more time. The Radiant Dragon once again emphasized the unpleasant aura that the human carried. The Skyfire Dragon identified it as divine power and continued to disbelieve that a human could possess it. The argument continued, with the Radiant Dragon remaining firm in its decision, stating that the Skyfire Dragon could not see what it saw. Both continued to fly away in urgency. The Radiant Dragon explained that a dark force was about to devour everything, and that human was their last hope. It ordered the Skyfire Dragon to follow, but the Black Dragon remained skeptical about betting the fate of their entire race on a human. At the same time, another group of players sighed in relief, having finally reached Windleaf Main City. A group of players confidently declared they were the first to arrive at Windleaf Main City. Suddenly, the entire group looked up in horror as two giant dragons appeared in the sky. Clutched by the talons of one dragon, Ye Xiao pretended to scream for help while Ebisu mocked him. The players on the ground were stunned to realize someone had been captured. Suspecting it was Night Xiao, the purple-haired leader quickly stopped his subordinates, asserting that the dragon's power surpassed all levels. News of a player being captured by a dragon quickly spread throughout the game world. Other players in the city buzzed with discussion, jealously suggesting that Night Xiao was being power-leveled by the dragons. Meanwhile, Ye Xiao was taken to a desolate volcanic region, where a massive dragon skeleton lay. Facing the two dragons, Ebisu sarcastically reminded Ye Xiao of the trouble he had caused them. Ye Xiao broke out in a cold sweat, recalling that he had stolen the egg of one and robbed the home of the other. The Skyfire Dragon questioned Ye Xiao, and he tried to act tough despite being terrified inside. However, the Radiant Dragon revealed that the egg he took was the dragon race's last hope. The Skyfire Dragon grew furious upon hearing Ye Xiao call the future dragon by the shameful nickname Little Ash. After clarifying the misunderstanding, the Radiant Dragon urged Ye Xiao to quickly get to the main business. The two dragons flew into the air, and together began an ancient ritual in the name of the dragon god. Witnessing the scene, Ye Xiao and Ebisu were utterly terrified, hastily begging for their lives. The giant dragon skeleton on the mountain suddenly activated, shooting out a powerful stream of energy. Gold and red energy converged in the eye sockets of the dragon skeleton before being released. A brilliant beam of light descended, and the purple-haired leader standing in the city unexpectedly received the dragon race's blessing. A player screamed as their body absorbed a portion of the dragon god's power. Meanwhile, the game forums were abuzz about Night Xiao being stuck at level 30 for 3 days after being captured by the dragons. On the streets, other players also discussed his mysterious disappearance. Another group spread malicious rumors, suggesting that Night Xiao had used dirty tricks and was now paying the price. At the same time, Ye Xiao woke up on the ground, clutching his head in pain after receiving a system notification that he had received the dragon god's blessing. He stood up, realizing he was in an unfamiliar land that looked like a level 40 zone, and the 2 great dragons had vanished. Ye Xiao checked his status panel and was confused because he saw no obvious changes to his stats or skills after receiving the blessing. He suddenly discovered a new skill called Money Shield, which could convert his 1,810,000,000 gold into a nearly impenetrable shield. Realizing the skill had no cooldown, Ye Xiao laughed smugly and called it insane luck. After reviewing his God of Fortune class skills, he wondered if his Beast God Master class had received any upgrades. He opened the Beast God Master skill panel and was utterly astonished to discover a new talent, Infinite Beast Mastery, which allowed him to tame an unlimited number of pets. Ye Xiao compared his new ability to the limits of even the Royal Beast Tamer and couldn't believe his luck. Overjoyed, he knelt down and bowed toward the dragons that had departed, swearing to be grateful to them and their ancestors. Afterward, Ye Xiao and Ebisu proceeded to a large structure identified as the Level 30 Challenge Hall. The guard recognized him and asked if he wanted to attempt the Abyss level challenge, and Ye Xiao immediately agreed. Immediately after, the hall's gate transformed into a brilliant blue teleportation portal. He stood firm before the challenge hall, ready for what was to come. He decisively confirmed his decision with the guard once more. The teleportation gate opened, inviting him into the destined challenge. The guard wished Ye Xiao good luck as he prepared to enter the challenge. Instantly, he was teleported to a vast and harsh snow-covered mountain range. Ye Xiao shivered from the biting cold, lamenting that he should have worn more layers. Suddenly, he sensed danger as a giant snowball hurtled toward him. He swiftly dodged the snowball by a hair's breadth. Ebisu reminded Ye Xiao that he could have simply used the money shield instead of dodging. The perpetrator of the attack was revealed, a gigantic mutated snowman that was growling and charging forward. Ye Xiao confidently ordered Little Gray to demonstrate its power. The little dragon obeyed, unleashing a stream of Dragon King's breath that incinerated the enemy. The system announced that the mutated snowman had been cleanly eliminated. Ye Xiao was astonished by Little Gray's one-hit destructive power, while Ebisu seemed unimpressed. The detailed information panel appeared, showing Little Gray's overwhelmingly powerful mythical-grade skills and talents. Suddenly, a massive horde of snow monsters appeared from the front, surprising Ye Xiao. Excitedly, he urged Little Gray to take this opportunity for a satisfying massacre. Little Gray unleashed fire once again, engulfing the entire horde of monsters in a sea of flames. Even the king-level boss, the Abyss Guardian, was instantly defeated. Ye Xiao smugly mocked the weak boss, but Ebisu reminded him not to be too arrogant. A server-wide announcement rang out, declaring Night Xiao the first player to clear the level 30 Abyss challenge, shocking the other players. The man in the white suit smiled, asserting that Ye Xiao's potential was truly limitless. The man in the white suit decided to return to the city to meet Ye Xiao personally, declaring that the real game would begin once he subdued Ye Xiao. Meanwhile, Ye Xiao had just completed the challenge and was examining the third Abyss shard, wondering how many fragments there were in total. He also received an epic-grade Blazing Hero Stone, a rare material that could enhance his hero badge. After bidding farewell to the guard, Ye Xiao left the challenge hall. He entered the bustling main city of Fenjie. Walking down the crowded street, Ye Xiao noticed the city seemed more populated than before, and Ebisu explained that this was because he had been missing for several days. He decided to appraise his new equipment, but was surprised by the long queue of people waiting. A player who tried to cut the line was gruffly chased away by the appraiser, but Ye Xiao's presence as a first-class citizen attracted attention. The appraiser was surprised when examining a piece of jewelry. Recognizing Ye Xiao as the god of fortune, his attitude immediately changed, and he eagerly invited him inside. The other players in line expressed dissatisfaction, not understanding why a first-class citizen had the privilege to cut in line. Ye Xiao ignored them and showed the craftsman the hero badge, asking him to enhance it. The worried blacksmith got to work, muttering about the item's immense value and his fear of damaging it. He carefully struck the badge with his forging hammer. A blinding flash of light erupted as the hero badge was successfully upgraded to legendary grade, forcing the other players to cover their eyes in astonishment. Witnessing the legendary grade item, a player realized in shock that this hidden man was the famous Night Xiao. Immediately, a frenzied crowd surrounded Ye Xiao, scrambling to send friend requests and inquire about buying his equipment. Ye Xiao secretly sighed about the difficulty of keeping secrets, then asked the appraiser to finish examining the remaining items. Both the craftsman and the crowd were stunned once again when they saw that all of his equipment was dark gold grade. News of Ye Xiao appearing in Fenjie City with dark gold equipment spread rapidly, causing one player to decide to rush back to the city immediately. The entire city was in chaos, with groups of players rushing to find Ye Xiao, vying to become his disciple. Meanwhile, Ye Xiao slipped into an alley and breathed a sigh of relief, thinking he had shaken off the crowd. But while he was still lamenting the nuisance, a man in red armor blocked his path and directly asked for his identity. Ye Xiao cautiously asked the stranger what he wanted. The man, along with his group, reassured him that they were only there to discuss business. Ye Xiao guessed they wanted to buy his dark gold equipment, and the man confirmed it, promising an offer he couldn't refuse. The man laughed loudly, mentioning hundreds of billions of gold, but Ye Xiao merely scoffed at his limited perspective. Ye Xiao thought to himself that this person was truly boastful and had not existed in his previous life. However, he recognized the masked assassin accompanying him as a top expert who had always acted alone in the previous life. The man continued to persuade him, praising Ye Xiao's potential and pointing out that he hadn't utilized his in-game power in the real world yet. Ye Xiao coldly told him to continue, while the other man promised to give him everything from money and status to women. With his entire group standing behind him, the man confidently invited Ye Xiao to join them. Ye Xiao patted his shoulder, saying he appreciated the recognition of his talent, which made the man smile contentedly. But immediately after, Ye Xiao summoned a fireball, declaring that he disliked the man's arrogant attitude and would manually revive him. The man was stunned, unable to believe Ye Xiao dared to attack him, and hastily warned him about the city's anti-killing laws. Ye Xiao ignored the threat, launched a fireball dealing 3,346 damage, and cursed him for talking too much. The man's teammates were speechless, and the masked assassin quickly stopped the others from acting, fearing they would be held responsible. Ye Xiao casually told them to pick up the dropped equipment and money as compensation, then advised them not to follow someone who had no future. An alarm sounded, and the group realized the city guards were approaching. The city guard squad quickly surrounded Ye Xiao and the remaining group, ordering no one to move. The guard captain stepped forward, angrily demanding to know who dared to commit murder right inside the main city. Ye Xiao calmly admitted it was him, astonishing the captain with his composure. However, upon realizing Ye Xiao was a first-class citizen, the captain's attitude immediately changed, and he hastily apologized for his rudeness. Ye Xiao simply explained that someone had threatened him, so he cleaned him up, which made the captain even more indignant on his behalf. The captain obsequiously assured him that maintaining city safety was their responsibility, and asked permission to leave so as not to bother Ye Xiao further. The remaining members of the other group were dumbfounded, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. Afterward, the captain ordered his squad to disperse. One soldier wondered why they didn't arrest Ye Xiao, and was immediately scolded by the captain as an idiot who didn't pay attention to details. The captain explained that Ye Xiao was the very person the Duchess was frantically searching for, and reporting this news would be an opportunity for them to get promoted. Meanwhile, at the Lord's manor, a magnificent scene unfolded. Inside, Sophia was sitting alone, frustrated by the wait. She impatiently wondered why there was still no news about Ye Xiao. Just then, Liz happily ran in to report that there was news about Lord Ye Xiao. Sophia immediately jumped up, eagerly asking where he was. At the same time, at the resurrection point, a subordinate was reporting the situation to his newly resurrected leader. The man in white showed no anger, revealing that he intentionally lost to make Ye Xiao drop his guard, and that he would soon make him regret it. He ordered the masked assassin to use his stealth skill to return and retrieve the equipment he had dropped. Ye Xiao mocked the enemy subordinates, saying they wouldn't need their equipment anymore. His threat left the entire group speechless in horror. A red-clad subordinate angrily questioned Ye Xiao, warning him that this was a heavily monitored resurrection zone. Ye Xiao merely sneered, declared that he had to pull out the weeds by the root, and raised his glowing magic staff. Immediately, a fireball flew straight into the chest of the red-clad subordinate. The man collapsed to the ground, and Ye Xiao coldly warned the others not to make any rash moves. He asserted that killing one person or many made no difference to him. Just then, the man in white resurrected in a flash of light, roaring Ye Xiao's name. He frantically threatened to take revenge on Ye Xiao's family and friends, but only received mockery in return. As soon as the threat ended, another fireball finished him off right there. The surrounding crowd of players discussed in astonishment, unable to believe someone dared to kill in the resurrection zone. The subordinates realized in shock that their master was no longer resurrecting but had been forcibly logged out. A squad of city guards led by a solemn judge appeared, loudly asking who dared to cause trouble. The masked assassin thought to himself that Ye Xiao would surely pay the price when facing the judge. Ye Xiao also assessed that confronting the judge directly right now would be a major loss. Nevertheless, he calmly stepped forward, casually admitting that he was the killer. The judge ordered the soldiers to escort Ye Xiao away, and he showed no intention of resisting. At the same time, in a luxurious mansion in the real world, Fu Bo was frantically shaking his young master, who lay unconscious on the bed. In the real world, Fu Bo frantically reported to an older man that the young master had been killed. That powerful man roared in anger, swearing to make the entire family of the person who killed his grandson die as well. Simultaneously in the game, Ye Xiao was being tried at the Dragon Phoenix Empire Court for murder in the Resurrection Zone. He calmly justified that he was merely defending the dignity of a first-class citizen against someone who had harassed and threatened him. From another location, a group of people in suits monitored the trial, astonished by Ye Xiao's ruthlessness in killing his opponent 5 times in a row. The judge named Ader declared Ye Xiao guilty of murder and sentenced him to permanent exile. Just then, a voice rang out in Ye Xiao's defense, arguing that his actions were justified and causing the judge to pause. Duchess Layla grandly entered, stating that the punishment was too unfair. Judge Ader immediately changed his demeanor, respectfully greeting Layla. Layla declared Ye Xiao to be her friend and demanded that Ader not treat him unfairly. Hearing this, Ader hastily changed the verdict, stating that the deceased deserved the punishment and ordered Ye Xiao's immediate release. After Layla requested permission, Ader agreed to let her and Ye Xiao leave. The two left the courthouse together while Ader bowed in farewell. Outside, Ye Xiao thanked Layla for her help, while Ebisu, perched on his shoulder, remarked that he had been saved again. Layla expressed concern upon hearing he had been captured by a dragon, but Ye Xiao reassured her that it turned out to be a lucky opportunity. He gently kissed Layla's hand and accepted her invitation to return home to recount his adventure. On the way, Ye Xiao asked Layla if Stir was still at the mansion, as he had something he needed to ask. Layla was utterly astonished to learn that Ye Xiao had quickly reached level 30. In the main hall of the mansion, Stir was also present and marveled at Ye Xiao's extraordinary leveling speed. Ye Xiao humbly asked Stir about his second-class advancement quest. Stir explained that quests for hidden classes were extremely mysterious, as they involved the domain of the gods. When Stir seemed worried, Layla reassured him that to advance, Ye Xiao needed to gain divine recognition, which immediately made him think of the Lost Temple. Stir was astonished that Ye Xiao knew about the Lost Temple, one of the most mysterious locations in Apocalypse. Layla also praised Ye Xiao's knowledge and explained that the temple appeared and disappeared randomly like an illusion. Immediately afterward, Ye Xiao received the quest Search for the Lost Temple, making him realize that the second-class advancement would be very difficult. Upon leaving the mansion, Layla instructed Ye Xiao to return to her after he was done, while Ebisu lamented the difficulty of the quest. However, Ye Xiao decided to postpone the temple search, as he knew a more important event was happening tomorrow, the first strange invasion. He explained that a gate to another world would open, unleashing countless strange creatures from the abyss. These creatures would massacre all living beings and destroy the entirety of Fengyi Main City. Ebisu panicked and urged him to flee, but Ye Xiao knew he couldn't handle it alone and thought of someone who could help. He immediately opened a teleportation gate and called out for Dolores. Dolores appeared on the other side, looking annoyed because nothing good ever happened whenever Ye Xiao sought her out. She sarcastically asked if he had found another unlucky dragon's nest, but Ye Xiao reassured her that this time the job was only within the city. Dolores was skeptical about the danger in the city, but Ye Xiao simply hired her to protect his property in the Western District for one day. Suspecting a trap, Dolores questioned Ye Xiao, but he merely responded by mentioning their long-standing friendship. Finally, Dolores agreed to be there on time, causing Ebisu to mock Ye Xiao for tricking someone else again. On the way, Ye Xiao ignored Ebisu's words and decided to use the remaining time to level up, preparing for the invasion. Meanwhile, on the Apocalypse forums, players were boiling with rage, demanding real name verification after Ye Xiao repeatedly killed a player at the resurrection point. In the real world, the man who was forcibly logged out dismissed the online uproar as childish games and decided to rest before a long night. At the same time, ordinary citizens who were sound asleep were suddenly digitized and pulled into the game world. A massive wave of new players suddenly appeared in the villages, confused and terrified, as they realized they had been forcibly logged in again and could not log out. Meanwhile, Ye Xiao welcomed Dolores, who arrived on time and wondered why he had called her to a quiet city at this hour. He entrusted all his property in the West District to her protection, and Dolores confidently guaranteed that not a single brick would be lost. Just then, ominous purple lightning flashed across the city sky, signaling an impending catastrophic event. When Ye Xiao told Dolores to prepare a buff, she sensed the abnormality and looked up at the sky with confusion. A gigantic rift tore open the sky, unleashing countless demonic creatures upon the world. The strange invasion had begun. Countless hideous monsters, from winged demons to clumsy giants, poured out of the spatial rift. The city guard force immediately took action, issuing a level 1 alert and ordering the defense of the city walls and the evacuation of citizens. Chaos engulfed the streets as the invading monsters began massacring terrified and defenseless players. Dolores was astonished and asked how Ye Xiao could have predicted the invasion, but he merely encouraged her, reminding her of the power of a divine-level spellcast. Her confidence wavered when a gigantic level 100 Lord Boss appeared, making her realize she had fallen into yet another one of his dangerous schemes. She complained that he never gave her easy tasks, but Ye Xiao calmly reiterated her promise to protect the district. Accepting the challenge, Dolores launched the destructive attack, 5 Thunder Blast at the gigantic demon. The Lord Boss was annihilated with a single blow, astonishing Ye Xiao, while Dolores responded with annoyance. However, the invasion was far from over, as more and more monsters, including flying elite bosses, continued to emerge from the rift. Losing patience, Dolores yelled at Ye Xiao not to just stand there but to lend a hand, and he happily agreed. Ye Xiao immediately played his trump card, summoning the Azure Sky Dragon with the command, "Little Gray, it's your turn." A gigantic reptilian monster roared from atop the city wall, as the people below screamed in terror. The desperate city defenders tried to hold their positions, shouting that they couldn't hold out any longer. Suddenly, the elite tier boss was completely annihilated by an unseen force, triggering a system notification. On a rooftop, Ye Xiao reminded his little dragon, Xiao Hui, to be more careful because it had just destroyed a shop. Detecting a new wave of monsters approaching, he ordered Xiao Hui to attack quickly. Xiao Hui easily swept away the horde of monsters, bringing in a series of notifications for defeating elite and normal tier bosses. Ye Xiao smiled smugly, thinking to himself that killing bosses was the fastest way to level up. He handed over the defense of the West District to Dolores, who was grumbling and demanding extra pay for the job. Amidst the pile of loot, Ye Xiao was delighted to realize that the monsters had even dropped epic tier equipment. Holding the Devourer ring in his hand, he contentedly urged Xiao Hui to hunt even more bosses. Meanwhile, outside the city, another group of players was frantically fleeing from a gigantic monster. A shield warrior tried to block the monster but was immediately overwhelmed by its power. The tanker shouted that he couldn't hold on any longer, and the group leader ordered everyone to find a way to escape. The warrior named Storm decided to sacrifice himself, shouting for the leader to take the others while he bought time. The monster grabbed Storm while he still tried to yell at his teammates not to worry about him. The entire group watched in horror as Storm fell, calling his name helplessly in despair. Just as hope faded, another boss appeared, making them believe they would all perish there. Unexpectedly, a massive stream of energy struck the monster, dealing 7,985 damage. The boss collapsed after just one hit, leaving the group leader unable to believe his eyes. He looked up at the sky and was astonished to see a small dragon circling above. The Azure Sky Dragon let out a roar, scattering the surrounding monsters. It soared in the air, unleashing 2 streams of dragon breath that incinerated the enemies. Witnessing the scene, the rescued group of players couldn't help but be amazed by the power of the little dragon. From afar, Ye Xiao commanded his pet, "Let's go, Xiao Hui. There are more bosses over there." The group of players realized their savior was none other than the legendary master, Ye Xiao. The leader, Qingfeng Kuizhu, quickly called out to Ye Xiao as he was about to leave. They approached to express their deep gratitude, even swearing to risk their lives to repay him. Ye Xiao casually replied that he was just passing by, then pointed them toward a safer area. The group of players greatly admired Ye Xiao's coolness and decided to head to the location he indicated. Meanwhile, Ye Xiao realized that killing normal monsters was too time-consuming. He and Xiao Hui headed towards the city gate, where the real battle was taking place. The city scene unfolded, engulfed in fire and devastation. Qingfeng Kuizhu's group reached the safe West District and began to wonder why Ye Xiao had risked being outside. Suddenly, Xiao Yu screamed in astonishment upon seeing the notification that Ye Xiao had leveled up again. A notification panel appeared, showing that Ye Xiao had reached level 35, stunning everyone with his leveling speed. Immediately afterward, a gigantic fireball shot toward them from the main city gate. It soared across the city sky, carrying terrifying heat. Ye Xiao stood atop a tall building, looking down at the scene of slaughter at the main gate. He faced a level 100 Skeleton King boss, and determined that it would be difficult to handle alone. Meanwhile, a soldier frantically reported to Commander Ader that the main gate had fallen and the entire defense line was about to collapse. In the midst of despair, Commander Ader reluctantly ordered, "Prepare to retreat." Suddenly, 2 massive streams of energy struck the battlefield, leaving him stunned. Realizing that a god-tier expert had intervened, Ader excitedly shouted, "We are saved! Brothers, charge!" Meanwhile, Ye Xiao faced Dolores, who was grumbling about being suddenly summoned to deal with a level 100 Lord-class boss. She looked skeptically at the Skeleton King in the distance. "That's a strange level 100 Lord boss. Even I wouldn't be certain. Yet you're serious?" Ye Xiao replied with a confident smile. "Completely serious. More real than pearls." Seeing this, Dolores decided to help, granting Ye Xiao a buff. Ye Xiao suggested, "Sister Tao, since you are a god-tier mage, please clear the path so I can directly confront the boss." Immediately, a gigantic minion monster was incinerated by Dolores's flames. She unleashed a sea of fire, sweeping away the obstructing monsters, and signaled to Ye Xiao, "Go now." Ye Xiao dashed through the fiery path, secretly marveling at Dolores's power. When Dolores appeared before Ader, he joyfully called her Lady Dorothy and was ordered to lead his troops to defend the north. A soldier reported that a level 30 beast tamer was attacking the boss, but Ader dismissed it, completely trusting Dorothy's command. The Skeleton King stood towering, radiating a deadly aura. After clearing the way, Dolores told Ye Xiao, Kid, everything rests on you now, Ye Xiao asserted. Don't worry. I guarantee I won't die. Now, the hunt begins. The Skeleton King raised its massive scythe, ready for battle. Dolores created a protective shield and urged, Kid, move. Ye Xiao calmly held up an emblem, reassuring her. Sister Tao, relax, just watch. He raised the emblem high, activated its power, and shouted, Savage slaughter. From a distance, Ye Xiao fired a dark red energy beam that pierced through the Skeleton King's chest. The system announced that the skill Savage Execution had activated the instant death effect. The giant skeleton shattered, and Ye Xiao watched, triumphantly shouting, Ha ha ha, I did it. Ebisu, perched on his shoulder, couldn't help but be astonished, wondering how a mere kid could defeat a Lord-class boss with a single blow. A worldwide announcement rang out, praising player Ye Xiao for successfully eliminating a level 100 boss and reaching level 40, leaving other players stunned. Qingfeng Qizu's group also witnessed this, and praised him endlessly. Xiaoyu even decided to start a fan club for Ye Xiao. From the boss's skeletal remains, countless epic-grade items dropped, including a shield, a staff, and rare materials. Ye Xiao picked up the new staff, noting with satisfaction that the rewards from a Lord-class boss were truly on another level. Immediately afterward, Ebisu spotted another item and exclaimed, an artifact. Ye Xiao picked up the pair of frenzied destruction horns, thinking that the rewards from this invasion were even more generous than a legendary-grade quest. In the sky, the spatial rift gradually closed, and the strange monsters began to retreat while the survivors cheered. On the battlefield, the players erupted in victorious joy, happy to have survived the invasion. Meanwhile, the governor of Fenghe City woke up and was informed by his bodyguard Turn that the invasion had ended an hour ago. He was stunned to learn that Ye Xiao and Dolores were the ones who repelled the enemies while he was unconscious. Highly impressed, the governor immediately ordered Turn to arrange a meeting so he could personally thank Ye Xiao. Soon after, Governor Aaron and Layla formally welcomed Ye Xiao and Dolores. He expressed his profound gratitude, but Dolores humbly replied that the greatest credit belonged to Ye Xiao, who had personally defeated the boss. Ye Xiao received a notification that his favorability with Governor Aaron had increased, along with the title, Friend of Fenghe, while he modestly stated that it was no big deal. Dolores requested the governor's permission to return to the Supreme Hall to handle other matters, which was granted. After they left, Governor Aaron turned to Layla, discussing the city's devastation and asking for her help regarding land issues. Layla explained that most of the property in the West District belonged to Ye Xiao, surprising Governor Aaron, who offered to buy some back. Ye Xiao casually agreed, provided the price was reasonable, while Ebisu whispered on his shoulder that his young master was about to make another killing. Aaron happily promised to prepare the gold immediately, and Ye Xiao generously agreed to transfer most of the property, keeping only a few large stores. When Ye Xiao mentioned needing assistance, Layla spoke up first, reporting to the governor that Ye Xiao's bravery had been witnessed by all the citizens. She announced that she had decided to propose that the royal family grant Ye Xiao a noble title. Ye Xiao thought to himself that this was yet another piece of good news, while Ebisu commented that his luck was truly remarkable. Governor Aaron fully supported the decision and was secretly astonished by the Duchess's favor towards such a young man. Ye Xiao thanked Layla by kissing her hand, but both she and the governor insisted that it was a reward he deserved. At the same time, in a modern apartment, a panicked voice cried out, calling Zhou Hong's name in vain. Qin Yanran sat on the sofa, desperately looking at her phone and praying that Zhou Hong hadn't died. Seeing the photo of Zhou Hong's corpse on the screen, she angrily cursed him for being useless and wasting the equipment she had bought for him. In her distress, Qin Yanran blamed Zhou Hong for everything and realized that Ye Xiao was the one who had treated her best. She deluded herself into believing that if she sincerely apologized, Ye Xiao would surely forgive her and take her back. With that conviction, Qin Yanran left her home, determined to set out and find Ye Xiao. Ye Xiao's reputation had spread, causing many other players to decide to find their way to Fenghe City for safety. Ye Xiao noticed the influx of people rushing into the city and scrambling to buy houses, so he decided to prioritize forging equipment first. He sought out a blacksmith amidst the ruins, and told him he needed some equipment forged and appraised. The blacksmith sadly replied that his shop had been destroyed during the invasion. However, he offered to take Ye Xiao elsewhere to borrow a forge and appraisal tool. The blacksmith led him to a large, intact building, and invited him inside to take a look. The blacksmith couldn't help but be astonished by the high-grade forge Ye Xiao had brought him to. Ye Xiao revealed that this was his property, and offered to hand the shop over to him, making the blacksmith extremely grateful. Without further ado, Ye Xiao immediately assigned the task, presenting a horn-shaped artifact and asking if he could appraise it. The blacksmith confessed that he wasn't sure, but Ye Xiao encouraged him to try anyway. Feeling trusted, the blacksmith resolved to put all his effort into completing the task. However, the appraisal failed, and he helplessly admitted that he couldn't maintain the incantation. Ye Xiao then changed tack, asking him to appraise 3 other epic-grade pieces of equipment. Meanwhile, at the governor's mansion, A common citizen was being flatly refused entry by the guards. As soon as Ye Xiao arrived, the bodyguards immediately recognized him and respectfully invited him inside. The contrasting scene was evident as the common citizen was turned away because the governor was too busy. In contrast, Ye Xiao was formally addressed as Lord by the bodyguards and warmly welcomed. Inside, Governor Aaron was surprised by the visit, and Ye Xiao got straight to the point. He wanted to search for the lost tribe. The governor thought this was like searching for a needle in a haystack, but Ye Xiao remained resolute and asked how he could help. Ye Xiao proposed that the governor issue a bounty with a reward of 5 million gold and 3 dark gold grade pieces of equipment. Impressed by his generosity, Governor Aaron immediately agreed to issue the bounty. The next day, the entire city was abuzz with the news that Ye Xiao had leveled up again. Players looked up in astonishment at the system notification. He had cleared the level 40 abyssal challenge. Inside the challenge area, Ye Xiao faced a giant humanoid monster. The creature, known as the Abyssal Guide, lunged forward to attack him. With a dazzling flash of light, Ye Xiao, his hair glowing gold, easily blocked the attack. The Azure Sky Dragon breathed fire, eliminating the Abyssal Guide. Standing on the monster's corpse, Ye Xiao heard Ebisu comment that it was fortunate he had the money shield, or he would have been in danger. Ye Xiao explained that thanks to the Dragon God's blessing, Little Ash's stats had skyrocketed. After picking up another fragment, Ye Xiao wondered if this was the 4th piece and how many more were needed to complete it. Suddenly, he received a message from Governor Aaron reporting news about the lost race. Meanwhile, a group of greedy players discovered the dwarves and argued over who would claim the reward offered by Ye Xiao. Ye Xiao immediately went to see the governor and asked directly about the news of the lost race. A knight wearing silver armor reported that a group of strangely shaped dwarves had been found in the forest outside the city. The knight confirmed he had stumbled upon them while hiding during the invasion, and Ye Xiao demanded to be led there immediately. Refusing the offer of reinforcements, Ye Xiao confidently declared he could handle it himself. Deep in the forest, a tribe of dwarves was moving cautiously. The 2 players from before were still lurking, planning to capture a dwarf to split the reward of gold and dark gold equipment. A long-bearded dwarf with sharp eyes seemed to sense their presence. One of the 2 players scoffed when the hammer thrown at him only dealt 80 damage. But immediately afterward, the hammer returned with the power of thunder, dealing 87,231 damage and eliminating both of them in one blow. Another group of players hiding nearby was utterly terrified by the dwarf's destructive power. The dwarf named Dulin was furious about being disturbed by humans, but his companion, Thor, advised him to calm down. Dulin angrily stated that if it weren't for the tribe, he would have crushed them all. But Thor urged everyone to leave quickly. At the same time, Ye Xiao and the knight were rushing over, with the guide reporting that they were very close. From the bushes, a group of hidden players spotted Ye Xiao approaching and excitedly waited to watch the show. Ye Xiao and the guiding knight reached the edge of the forest, and he decided to go straight in to witness the dwarves' power. The knight warned that the dwarves were extremely hot-tempered and possessed terrifying destructive power, but Ye Xiao remained confident that he knew what he was doing. After dismissing the knight, Ye Xiao stepped forward, causing Ebisu on his shoulder to secretly wonder about his recklessness. Upon seeing a human figure, Dulin immediately flew into a rage and shouted that he would crush the one who dared approach. Thor quickly stopped Dulin before he could act rashly. However, upon scrutinizing Ye Xiao's calm expression, even Dulin had to admit to Thor that he no longer felt the urge to attack. Both dwarves suddenly smelled a strong scent emanating from Ye Xiao, realizing with astonishment that it was the scent of more than one divine artifact. Dulin was overwhelmed by the powerful aroma, while Thor detected another scent, familiar yet ancient. Dulin snapped back to reality, shouting in terror that it was the scent of a god, and Thor immediately confirmed it. The 2 dwarves looked at each other, reaffirming the strong scent of multiple divine artifacts radiating from Ye Xiao. Dulin still couldn't believe the intensity of the scent, while Thor was trying to recall the ancient aroma. Finally, both came to the undeniable conclusion. It was the aura of a great deity. Another dwarf used binoculars to check, surprised to see that Ye Xiao was only level 40 but possessed an unbelievably high spiritual power. Dulin also looked through the binoculars and exclaimed in astonishment at the overwhelming spiritual power, believing that Ye Xiao was truly blessed by the gods. The hidden group of players didn't understand why the dwarves weren't attacking Ye Xiao, while another suggested that common sense couldn't apply to a god. The whole group began mocking the dwarves as hypocrites, while also commenting that Ye Xiao always had unpredictable tricks up his sleeve. Thor stepped forward and asked for his identity. Ye Xiao introduced himself and said he came seeking help, leading the dwarf to assume he wanted weapons forged. Ye Xiao shook his head in denial, declaring he was searching for the lost temple, which stunned the dwarves. Ye Xiao explained that he needed the lost temple for his promotion quest, but Thor replied that they only helped the righteous. Finding it difficult to prove his righteousness, Ye Xiao immediately made another request, asking them to appraise a divine artifact. He presented a red horn and challenged their abilities, stating that his own blacksmith couldn't do it. Provoked by his racial pride, Dulin asserted that dwarves were the best craftsmen and demanded to see the item. However, upon holding the horn, Dulin realized it was not like a normal forged artifact. Thor examined it closely and concluded that it was a natural divine artifact, formed from the fusion of elemental forces. He identified it as a horn of the god of destruction and asked Ye Xiao where he had obtained it. When they learned that Ye Xiao was the one who had defeated the boss during the invasion, both dwarves were utterly astonished. Dulin confidently asserted that they could appraise it, but it would come at a very high price. Ye Xiao calmly asked for the price, while Ebisu secretly thought he was about to be swindled. Dulin held up 5 fingers, naming a price he considered astronomical. He loudly shouted the price, 500 gold coins. Both dwarves considered this a huge fortune, enough to buy 50 rice bars. After Dulin tried to haggle down to 300 gold, Ye Xiao made a shocking offer, 1 million gold coins for a successful appraisal. The offer of 1 million gold coins stunned the two dwarves, who imagined the amount of rice they could buy enough to last a lifetime. Ye Xiao immediately provided 1,000 gold as a deposit, and promised to send more food later. Completely subdued by the wealth, Dulin immediately agreed and enthusiastically began the appraisal, causing both their favorability levels to increase. With a sound of success, Dulin completed the appraisal of the horn on the anvil. Ye Xiao smiled contentedly as he viewed the information panel for the Horn of Wrath, God of Destruction, admiring the dwarves' craftsmanship. After the appraisal was finished, Dulin immediately asked about the payment, but Ye Xiao reassured him and invited the entire tribe to Fenjie City to receive their reward. The offer to visit the human city surprised the dwarves, and Ye Xiao promised to treat them to a grand feast. The entire dwarf tribe cheered excitedly at the prospect of celebrating in a major human city. On the streets of Fenjie City, a group of players suddenly noticed the procession entering. Ye Xiao's appearance alongside the entire dwarf tribe stunned the other players, leading to fervent discussion. True to his word, Ye Xiao treated the dwarves to a lavish feast, leaving them astonished by how delicious the food was. A knight announced that all expenses for the banquet were covered by Ye Xiao, delighting the dwarves even further. During the feast, Ye Xiao asked Thor for information about the Lost Temple, the objective of his class advancement quest. Thor pulled out an ancient detection device and explained its function, but simultaneously warned Ye Xiao to abandon the idea. He revealed that an extremely terrifying creature was hidden inside the temple. When asked, Thor admitted that even their ancestors had never truly seen the creature. Thor recounted the legend of how their ancestors had to flee the fire temple because of a horrifying creature, and the god of fire had to create a blazing territory to seal it. Despite the danger, Ye Xiao insisted he must go there for his class advancement, earning Thor's admiration, who decided to give him 2 useful items. Thor gave Ye Xiao the temple detector and a Fire Spirit King crystal as a thank you gift for the feast. Ye Xiao inspected the item and realized the Fire Spirit King crystal could provide excellent fire resistance, an amazing item. He immediately asked to buy more, but Thor regretfully stated that it was the only crystal of its kind. However, Thor said they still had weaker, common Fire Spirit crystals and were willing to give them to Ye Xiao. After checking them, Ye Xiao thanked Dulin but realized these common crystals would not be enough to help him pass the challenge. Ye Xiao decided he would find a solution himself, then said goodbye and wished the dwarves a good meal. Ebisu, perched on Ye Xiao's shoulder, wondered about his plan for the fire temple, while Ye Xiao secretly resolved that he must go there for his class advancement but realized he couldn't go alone. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Dolores was deep in thought. She admired herself in the mirror, confident that this new outfit suited her better and that soon, the 2 old men in the temple would no longer be her rival. Suddenly, a knight rushed in panicked, reporting that someone was approaching, but Dolores calmly asked for the visitor's identity. It was Ye Xiao, who cheerfully greeted her as Sister Tao, causing Dolores to sigh wearily, knowing his appearance always signaled trouble. She sarcastically asked if it was a dragon or another terrifying boss this time, but Ye Xiao feigned innocent. Dolores wasn't fooled. She demanded he get straight to the point, and Ye Xiao casually revealed he planned to drop by the fire temple. Hearing this, Dolores became furious, calling him crazy for daring to provoke a god, and flatly refused, ordering him to leave. Ye Xiao tried to persuade her that the reward was negotiable, but she dismissed him, saying that even if he wanted to go, he wouldn't be able to find the temple. To prove his point, Ye Xiao presented a dwarf compass, but Dolores was initially skeptical. After inspecting it, she realized it was genuine and understood that Ye Xiao was doing all this for his class advancement quest. Dolores agreed to help but needed a week to prepare, but Ye Xiao insisted they had to leave immediately, or he would go alone. Surprised by his haste and without having agreed on compensation, Dolores could only watch Ye Xiao turn his back, leaving behind a promise of countless treasures in the temple. She quickly called him back, asserting that without her protection, he wouldn't even make it past the entrance. 2 days later, they arrived at the scorched land, where Ebisu was complaining about the scorching heat. After 2 days of walking, Dolores was exhausted and began to doubt whether the dwarves had tricked them. However, Ye Xiao remained confident as the compass in his hand began to glow brighter, signaling they were very close. Suddenly, A gigantic level 100 elite molten mud crocodile emerged from the lava flow. Ye Xiao looked annoyed, entrusted the monster to Dolores, and swore he would never eat grilled crocodile again. Dolores raised her staff, declared she would cool down the monster, and then froze it in a massive block of ice. However, the ice block immediately shattered into pieces. Instead of one creature, dozens of smaller molten eel-like creatures emerged from below. Dolores was stunned by the unexpectedly massive number of enemies. At the same time, the compass in Ye Xiao's hand vibrated violently, and Dolores warned him that something was wrong. Before their eyes, a gigantic ancient temple gate slowly rose from the ground. The gate stood towering amidst the sea of lava, containing a spatial vortex surrounded by the swarm of molten eels. Ye Xiao confirmed this was the entrance to the fire temple, a place even he was seeing for the first time. Dolores cried out in alarm as the entire swarm of monsters charged towards them simultaneously. She immediately prepared to cast a powerful defensive skill. Meanwhile, Ye Xiao also activated his money shield skill. He decided to break through, shouting for Ebisu to hold on tight and asking Dolores for speed support. Dolores smugly agreed, not forgetting to remind him about her fee. Protected by the shield, Ye Xiao still took fire damage, while Ebisu screamed about being roasted alive. Despite the continuous attacks, he persistently charged straight toward the gate. With iron will, Ye Xiao roared that even the gods could not block his path. He successfully leaped into the spatial vortex just before it closed. Ye Xiao landed inside a ruined and dilapidated temple. Immediately, a gigantic temple guardian appeared and sternly questioned the intruder's purpose. Ye Xiao calmly replied to the temple guardian that he had come to explore the ruins. The temple guardian sneered, declaring that the intruder needed its blessing, and ordered Ye Xiao to kneel. As he walked, Ye Xiao wondered if the second-class advancement also required a blessing, while the temple guardian continued to demand his submission. Ebisu on Ye Xiao's shoulder warned that the statue was highly suspicious, and Ye Xiao mocked its attempt to make him kneel. Enraged, the temple guardian roared that kneeling before the god of fire and blacksmithing, Hephaestus, was a great honor. It raised its warhammer high, summoned pillars of fire, and yelled, demanding Ye Xiao show his piety immediately. Ye Xiao dodged the pillars of fire but still took damage. Annoyed that he was being bullied by a statue, he decided to counterattack, declaring that he also possessed a divine artifact to fight a god. Suddenly, the azure sky dragon flew out on its own, surprising Ye Xiao, who asked why it had appeared. Ignoring its master's call, the azure sky dragon charged straight toward the temple guardian statue. The little dragon unleashed a powerful breath attack, dealing 99999 damage and hitting the temple guardian directly in the face. Ye Xiao was stunned, wondering if the dragon's hatred for the gods was ingrained in their very blood. With both arms blown off, the shattered statue roared a threat from Hephaestus, warning that Ye Xiao had made a grave mistake and would pay the price. A system notification appeared, warning that Ye Xiao was being attacked by an unknown force. He realized he had angered the god. Massive streams of divine energy shot down, forcing Ye Xiao to flee in panic. He desperately realized he had no chance against a god, and wondered if this was the end. Suddenly, a voice full of resentment echoed from somewhere, cursing Hephaestus, causing Ye Xiao to stop in confusion. The ground beneath Ye Xiao began to crack as the entire temple shook violently. The temple collapsed, and Ye Xiao screamed in terror as he fell into the abyss opening beneath him. As he fell into the abyss, Ye Xiao activated his money shield, screaming in agony as millions of gold were consumed to protect his life. He landed safely but had lost a total of 5,823,742 gold. Standing up, Ye Xiao was astonished to see a gigantic, fiery creature in the distance. The system displayed the creature's information as the Undying Divine Phoenix, but all its stats were unknown. Ye Xiao realized this was the terrifying creature sealed by the fire god that Thor had warned about. While the Phoenix questioned him about destroying the statue, he casually admitted that he was the one who broke it, simultaneously speculating about the feud between the Phoenix and the fire god. The Phoenix praised Ye Xiao's actions, but advised him to leave before Hephaestus returned. It explained that the destruction of the statue had awakened it, and Hephaestus would surely return before it could break its chains. Ye Xiao shrewdly asked why a creature capable of breaking a god's chains was sealed in the first place. The Phoenix roared angrily, revealing that Hephaestus had cowardly ambushed it while it was weakened after giving birth. Hearing Young One, Ye Xiao immediately formed a plan, offering to rescue the baby Phoenix. The Phoenix scoffed, claiming that a human beast tamer was unworthy of its noble bloodline. Ye Xiao immediately summoned the Azure Sky Dragon, confidently ordering his spirit beast to demonstrate its power. The Phoenix was completely stunned, unable to believe a human could control such a powerful dragon. It realized in horror that Ye Xiao had received the dragon god's blessing. Ye Xiao lost patience, demanding in a low voice to know the location of the baby Phoenix. Finally, the Phoenix relented, deeming it fate, and gave him a feather to guide the way. Ye Xiao triumphantly grabbed the feather, delighted that he was about to acquire another divine beast. Ebisu, sitting on his shoulder, reminded him not to celebrate too soon. as he now literally had to walk into a sea of fire. Ye Xiao was astonished to see a sea of lava before him. Despite the danger, he was determined to cross the sea of fire to claim the divine beast. Thanks to the fire spirit crystal, Ye Xiao endured the heat, though he continuously lost 1000 HP, while Ebisu screamed at him to hurry up. He quickly crossed the sea of lava, getting closer and closer to his goal. Finally, Ye Xiao reached the spot where a gigantic, glowing egg was placed. He joyfully confirmed that it was the phoenix egg. Excitedly lifting the egg, Ye Xiao jokingly asked Ebisu how to hatch it. Suddenly, beams of light descended from the sky, putting Ye Xiao on high alert. A powerful attack shattered his shield, and he screamed in pain, cursing the fire god. A massive hand of fire descended from above, and Ebisu frantically yelled at him to run. Clutching the egg, Ye Xiao began to flee amidst Ebisu's frantic screams. As he stepped back onto the stone platform, the undying divine phoenix exclaimed in astonishment, unable to believe he had succeeded. The phoenix still couldn't believe a level 40 mortal could cross the terrifying sea of lava. Ye Xiao smirked smugly, casually remarking that this wasn't the first time he had stolen an egg. Hephaestus's furious voice echoed, swearing to personally tear Ye Xiao apart for his unforgivable crime. The divine phoenix urged Ye Xiao to take its child far away, entrusting him with the feud against Hephaestus. Realizing he couldn't fight a god, Ye Xiao decided to ask if there was any way to help the phoenix break the seal. The undying divine phoenix thought he was too weak to help, but Ye Xiao persistently insisted on knowing the method. Finally, the phoenix pointed to 2 black seals hovering in the air and began to explain. The divine phoenix explained that these were 2 divine seals that must be broken simultaneously. Ye Xiao confidently held up the horn of wrath, asking if it could break them, astonishing the phoenix. The phoenix admitted it was a divine artifact, but stressed that 2 items were needed to break both seals at once. Ye Xiao then took out a cooldown stone, declaring that he could activate the destructive power twice in a row. Suddenly, an enraged voice boomed as a massive pillar of fire struck where Ye Xiao was standing. Having no other choice, Ye Xiao was determined to test his strength and prevent the fire god from achieving his goal. He rushed toward one seal, using the power of the Horn of Wrath to attack it. Immediately afterward, Ye Xiao yelled and activated the cooldown stone to reuse the divine artifact. He instantly launched the second attack at the remaining seal, challenging the interfering god. The undying divine phoenix was stunned, witnessing a mortal breaking a divine seal. Just then, a gigantic figure appeared right behind Ye Xiao, calling him human. Hephaestus, the god of fire, had personally descended, ordering Ye Xiao to offer up his life. Ye Xiao looked up at the massive god before him, stunned by the opponent's sheer size. Holding his gigantic forging hammer, Hephaestus stood amidst a sea of fire and demanded that Ye Xiao kneel. But right at that moment, the magical chains binding the divine phoenix shattered completely. Now free, the phoenix flew straight toward Hephaestus, declaring that he had arrived just in time. Hephaestus couldn't believe the seal was broken, while the phoenix called him a false god and demanded he pay the price. The blazing phoenix declared that only Hephaestus's blood could wash away her humiliation, radiating a terrifying surge of energy. Ye Xiao, along with Old Hui, Ebisu, frantically hid behind a pillar, realizing this battle was far beyond their level. Hephaestus mocked the divine phoenix, suggesting that after years of being sealed and drained of power, she was no longer his match. The phoenix roared in fury, swearing that the despicable false god would pay with his blood. She lunged into the attack, her blazing body colliding with the god of fire in a terrifying explosion. The shockwave from the confrontation was so strong it threw Ye Xiao backward, causing him to cry out in alarm. Mid-air, Ye Xiao hastily activated his money shield to save his life. Hephaestus watched in astonishment as his hammer shattered and his right arm began to disintegrate. "Feel what it's like to be melted," the divine phoenix declared, as her power overwhelmed her opponent. Hephaestus roared, "Traitor, how dare you defy a god?" But the phoenix scornfully replied that he was unworthy. With a cry of pain, Hephaestus took a full blazing claw strike to the chest. The god of fire was struck down to the ground, unable to believe his defeat. Witnessing the scene, Ebisu trembled at the phoenix's brutality, while Ye Xiao worried that he would be the next target. Absorbing Hephaestus's vital energy, the divine phoenix declared her rebirth in the divine flames. Ye Xiao quickly held out the egg, trying to explain that it was just a misunderstanding and he wanted to return it. But the phoenix surprised him by saying there was no misunderstanding, and that she had to thank him. She bestowed upon Ye Xiao 2 drops of Hephaestus's divine blood as a gift. The system panel appeared, confirming it was divine blood, leaving Ye Xiao stunned. He forced a laugh, saying he was honored, but Ebisu immediately pointed out that his expression didn't match his words. The divine phoenix explained that this divine blood would help him hatch her child. Ye Xiao was astonished when the divine phoenix requested that he find a way to hatch her child. The divine phoenix explained that the place was about to collapse, and the fate of her child depended on him because news of Hephaestus's defeat would soon spread. When the divine phoenix urged him to leave immediately, Ye Xiao insisted on staying to pick up the loot. He ignored the divine phoenix's nagging, arguing that loot from a fire god couldn't be wasted. Yi Xiao picked up the broken staff, realizing it was still epic-grade equipment and could reach mythical grade if restored. The Divine Phoenix urged him again, and Ye Xiao finally agreed to leave the collapsing temple. The two quickly flew into a teleportation gate created by the Divine Phoenix. Meanwhile, in another world, the sky raged with fierce thunder and lightning. A council of gods was gathering, including the main body of Hephaestus. Hephaestus roared angrily that he had lost an avatar. Another god asked why he was making such a fuss, and Hephaestus explained that the avatar was tasked with guarding the undying phoenix, and that world had likely collapsed. A tree-like god grew angry, questioning Hephaestus for letting the phoenix escape, the one they had used divine power to seal. The other gods also surrounded him, collectively cursing Hephaestus as incompetent and deserving of death. A massive god wearing a horned helmet spoke up, quelling the argument. The leading god ordered everyone to stop arguing and focus on finding the source of the problem. The other gods immediately obeyed. Returning to the outside of the fire temple, Dolores stood looking at the ruins. She smirked, wondering if Ye Xiao had died inside. Suddenly, a gigantic teleportation gate opened in the sky, and Dolores watched in shock as Ye Xiao and the Divine Phoenix flew out. Dolores exclaimed in surprise upon seeing Ye Xiao alive, prompting him to ask why she had expected him to die. Dolores stared blankly at the colossal Divine Phoenix, wondering what kind of creature it was. She gasped in amazement, unable to understand how Ye Xiao had gotten involved with an entity of that caliber. The undying Divine Phoenix spread its blazing wings, radiating earth-shattering power. It created a massive golden energy vortex, preparing to depart. Before soaring high into the sky, it instructed Ye Xiao to take good care of its child. Ye Xiao stood awkwardly next to the gigantic egg, while Dolores was still reeling in shock. Dolores couldn't believe Ye Xiao had not only survived but also brought out the phoenix egg, causing Ye Xiao to smugly boast about his excellent luck. When Dolores inquired about other loot, Ye Xiao smiled and held out a blazing golden orb. Dolores recognized the precious item and screamed in horror. "Is this divine blood?" Ye Xiao absorbed the divine power, and system notifications appeared, indicating that both of his professions had leveled up. Ebisu also appeared within the energy stream, happily announcing that he had leveled up along with Ye Xiao's wealth profession. Ye Xiao excitedly checked the new skills of the wealth profession, smugly thinking that his money-making ability was now unmatched. He continued reviewing the insane upgrades to the Beast God Master profession, feeling nothing but astonishment. Ye Xiao confidently declared that his new skill allowed him to upgrade a king-tier spirit beast to mythical tier, prompting a jealous exclamation from Dolores. Suddenly, the massive phoenix egg beside them began to tremble. Both Ye Xiao and Dolores were startled by the movement, unsure if they were mistaken. Ye Xiao looked at the egg with anticipation, wondering if the young phoenix was about to hatch. He joyfully realized that the divine power he had just absorbed had activated the incubation process, which was now expected to complete within the next 72 hours. Dolores questioned him upon seeing his intention to leave, but he asserted that he would never return to this place, and brushed aside her question regarding her commission fee. Ye Xiao and Dolores returned and walked along the main street of Fenji City. Suddenly, an angry shout echoed from a nearby building, threatening to beat to death anyone who dared disturb them again. Stepping inside, Ye Xiao curiously asked what was going on. They were astonished to see Governor Aaron in a bizarre rice grain costume, confronting a dwarf. Aaron was delighted to see Ye Xiao return, but Ye Xiao could only confusedly ask about his outfit. The governor awkwardly didn't know how to explain this embarrassing situation. A bodyguard immediately pulled Ye Xiao aside, saying the governor had his reasons, all for the sake of city reconstruction. The bodyguard explained that ever since the dwarves arrived, they had ignored all the governor's offers of help. Desperate, Aaron heard that the dwarves liked rice, so he decided to disguise himself as a grain of rice to win them over. Ye Xiao couldn't believe this bizarre line of thinking, while the bodyguard could only sigh that the governor had taken on too much responsibility. Ye Xiao immediately told the bodyguard to tell the governor to change clothes, and that he would handle the dwarf problem. He calmly stepped forward, thinking to himself that these dwarves were truly stubborn. Just then, the dwarf Saul angrily swung his hammer, warning the person who had just left not to come near again. Ye Xiao stepped out and called Saul's name, surprising the dwarf that he had returned so soon. Saul quickly asked if Ye Xiao had found the Temple of Fire, and he confirmed that he had entered it. The dwarf joyfully asked if they could return, but Ye Xiao replied that it was probably impossible. He explained that the temple had collapsed, then held out the scepter of the fire god, leaving Saul utterly astonished. Saul and all the dwarves immediately knelt, honoring Ye Xiao as the fire god's messenger and begging him to lead the way. Ye Xiao accepted the new role, ordering them to stay and help rebuild Fenghe City. The entire tribe unanimously obeyed, and Saul promised to go inform the other dwarf tribes of the news. Ye Xiao asked Saul, who was also called Thor, to forge some equipment for him, and he immediately agreed. Meanwhile, at the manor, Governor Aaron was wearing a bizarre sesame seed costume. He admired himself in the mirror, hoping this appearance could win the dwarves' favor. Suddenly, a bodyguard rushed in to report that the dwarves had left with Ye Xiao. When the governor blankly asked where they went, the bodyguard explained that they had gone to help build the main city. Aaron was overjoyed, mistakenly believing that his bizarre efforts had finally succeeded. However, the bodyguard was forced to clarify that it was Ye Xiao who had convinced them, leaving the governor stunned. Slumping onto the floor, Aaron despairingly asked how Ye Xiao did it. But the bodyguard only knew that everything went very smoothly. Feeling utterly defeated, the governor dejectedly stood up and sarcastically remarked that he would go look for a job at the circus. The scene shifted to a palace, where a voice was complaining to its master about Ye Xiao's arrogance. Here, a group of royal envoys led by Albert was pressuring Sophia by citing the orders of Prince Karami. Albert also subtly suggested that Sophia should leverage the prince's affection to solve the problem. Sophia flatly refused, making Albert look awkward due to her firm attitude. As Sophia decisively dismissed him, Albert froze, realizing Ye Xiao had been standing behind him the entire time. Sophia's face immediately lit up with joy and relief upon seeing Ye Xiao return. Ye Xiao affectionately asked Sophia if he was late, and she replied that he had arrived just in time. Albert turned to face Ye Xiao, offering a sarcastic and smug greeting. The man openly insulted Ye Xiao, but Sophia immediately spoke up in his defense, reminding Albert of his own status and Ye Xiao's merits. With a cold smile, Ye Xiao declared that he was in a good mood today and felt like killing someone for fun. Albert became enraged, threatening Ye Xiao in return and beginning to boast about his background. Without warning, Ye Xiao delivered a devastating punch to Albert's face. He stood over the collapsed Albert, offering a sarcastic apology for having accidentally hit him too hard. Ye Xiao coldly turned to ask the rest of the delegation if anyone had any objection. Immediately, the envoys frantically waved their hands, unanimously condemning Albert for being disrespectful and threatening everyone. They praised Ye Xiao's actions as righteous and expressed absolute reverence, asserting that Albert deserved to die. Ye Xiao continued by asking which of them had the authority to decide his title. An envoy hastily assured him that he was the deputy and would sign the documents to allocate the territory immediately. Sophia smiled, complimenting Ye Xiao on always having his own way, while he casually replied that using his fists was much faster. At the same time, a system-wide announcement rang out. Ye Xiao had become a viscount, unlocking the territory system and increasing playtime for the entire server. Other players worldwide were astonished by his rate of advancement, admitting that he was a major figure who could not be judged by conventional logic. News of the territory unlock spread, making everyone realize that Ye Xiao could now recruit subordinates. The crowd of players became extremely excited, swearing to join Ye Xiao's forces to dominate the world during the apocalypse. Sophia informed Ye Xiao that after he convinced the dwarves, many people were offering high prices to buy his shops. Outside, a merchant leading the crowd approached Ye Xiao, declaring that he had mobilized 40 million gold and was ready to trade. Others jostled, competing to show off their wealth. One claimed to have 90 million, while another claimed kinship to receive priority. Ye Xiao calmly asked the crowd for patience, saying he had no problem selling the shops, but, with a sly smile, he announced that they would have to pay an extra fee. This request only made the merchants more fervent. They shouted that they would buy at any cost and held up bags of deposit money. The scene became chaotic as everyone scrambled to hand money to Ye Xiao, insisting they would buy his shops no matter what. The skill, money rolling in, was activated, causing gold to rain down around Ye Xiao as he cheerfully announced that everyone would get a share. Ye Xiao read the messages about foreigners flocking to Jiangcheng and realized they were coming because of the worldwide announcement he triggered. Standing by the window, he was certain that this group of people was targeting him. With a confident smile, Ye Xiao thought to himself that they had no idea a major event was about to happen tonight. Suddenly, blue lightning struck a building in the city. On the streets, players were suddenly ejected from the game, confused about what was happening and why their bodies possessed power. Ye Xiao calmly realized that the time had come for the game and reality to merge. A system panel appeared, and he unhesitatingly chose to extract the money shield skill. A blue aura enveloped Ye Xiao, and he laughed heartily upon confirming that players above level 10 could bring one skill into the real world. Feeling his in-game stats merge with his body, he clenched his fist and declared that it was time to settle some debts. Ye Xiao launched himself down from a great height with extraordinary speed. He landed forcefully, cracking the pavement, and declared that the massacre had officially begun. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens were still panicking, unable to believe that the game apocalypse had become reality. Some, however, were excited, discussing using their new powers to take revenge on their bosses or show off their superior physique. Another person ran as fast as the wind, dreaming of delivering 1,000 orders every day. Some even generated fire from thin air and plotted to use stealth abilities to sneak into the women's bathroom. Ye Xiao arrived in front of the Ye group's villa complex. He stopped abruptly, sensing someone hiding in the nearby bushes. 3 robbers appeared and surrounded him, the leader sneering that the prey had finally taken the bait. The leader held a knife to his own chin, arrogantly ordering Ye Xiao to hand over all his valuables. Another accomplice boasted that his friend was a level 11 expert in apocalypse to intimidate him. Ye Xiao calmly faced the 2 robbers, while the leader issued threats. Without a word, Yi Xiao swiftly acted, gripping the leader's throat tightly. The blonde robber yelled threats upon seeing his leader restrained, crying out in pain. He continued to roar, completely oblivious to the disparity in power. Yi Xiao delivered an extremely fast kick, sending the blonde man flying. Seeing all three robbers slumped on the ground, Yi Xiao sighed in disappointment because they were too weak. The scene shifted to a lavish party where people were happily dancing. Thumping music and cheers echoed throughout the luxurious room. A group of Ye Group executives raised their glasses, celebrating their successful investment. Suddenly, the door burst open, and a figure stepped in, interrupting the cheerful atmosphere. The entire group turned around in shock, staring in astonishment at the intruder. Ye Xiao, wearing a strange mask, coldly announced that he was glad they were all present. A man named Ye Lin, the future head of the Ye Group, stepped forward and mocked the masked intruder. Ye Xiao slowly raised his hand to remove the mask, and the familiar voice made Ye Lin freeze. When the mask was removed, the crowd was stunned to recognize Ye Xiao and began whispering about his accident. Ye Lin quickly regained his smug composure, mocking Ye Xiao and his financial situation. Ye Xiao ignored the mockery, got straight to the point, and questioned Ye Lin about his parents' deaths. Ye Lin sneered maliciously, seemingly ready to admit his crime. Just as Ye Lin was about to speak, a subordinate rushed over to intervene, trying to silence him. However, the subordinate was instantly struck down by a ruthless blow. Ye Xiao grabbed the subordinate's neck and coldly warned, "I am asking a question. You had better not interfere." Standing over the man's dead body, he cruelly said, "Confess the truth, and perhaps I will grant you a more peaceful death." The horrified party guests exclaimed, "He just moved a finger and killed someone? How is that possible?" One person fearfully realized, "Could it be the Ye Xiao from Apocalypse?" Ye Xiao casually admitted, "It seems you are not completely stupid." Yi Lin burst out laughing, mocking, "The Ye Xiao from Apocalypse? Are you all crazy? It's just a coincidence of names." He stepped closer, provoking, "Ye Xiao, let me tell you. 10 years ago, I was the one who tampered with that car. So what?" Yi Lin gleefully reenacted the accident, and then, boom. "It's a pity you didn't die in that crash. Ha ha ha." Ye Xiao's eyes flared with red anger, and he gritted his teeth. "You truly are a beast." Rage surged as he realized his parents' enemy was standing right in front of him. The killing intent emanating from Ye Xiao made the surrounding air heavy. Yi Lin laughed arrogantly in response. "Haha, so what? Today I'll send you down to reunite with your deceased parents." He pointed at Ye Xiao, offering a reward. Whoever kills him will receive a black gold tier equipment item. Seeing that no one dared to move, Ye Lin angrily yelled at the crowd, "You people, why aren't you acting?" Ye Xiao calmly countered, "Act? Do they dare?" Immediately, he grabbed Yi Lin's pointing finger and snapped it backward. He coldly declared, "Don't worry, you won't die that quickly. I will break every single one of your bones," while Yi Lin screamed in agony. Yi Lin's finger was brutally broken, emitting a crunching sound. The bone-deep pain caused him to scream incessantly in despair. Ye Xiao tightened his grip, showing no intention of stopping his torture. With his eyes blazing red, Ye Xiao ruthlessly stomped on Yi Lin's arm. Yi Lin screamed in agony after receiving a devastating kick to the chest. Lying sprawled on the floor, he stammered a plea for mercy, but Ye Xiao coldly replied that it wasn't enough yet. Ye Xiao stood above him, ordering the monster to go to hell and repent to his parents. The brutal torture continued, so savage that it had to be obscured. The guests witnessed the horrific scene, whispering about the bleak future of the Yi Group. Suddenly, someone in the crowd loudly voiced support, calling Ye Lin a beast who had murdered a good man like Ye Xiao's father. Others immediately chimed in, revealing that they had hated Ye Lin for a long time and only regretted not knowing the truth sooner. Ye Xiao turned to the hypocritical crowd, growling that not a single person could escape. In a fit of rage, he lunged forward and struck down those who had just spoken up. The crowd panicked intensely, hastily shifting all the blame onto Ye Lin and begging for their lives. From outside the building, desperate screams and pleas for help echoed into the night. Standing alone amidst the pool of blood, Ye Xiao whispered that the hatred spanning 2 lifetimes had finally been avenged. He quietly turned and left the room full of corpses, leaving Ye Lin motionless on the floor. Outside, the mansion was enveloped in a deadly silence beneath the starry night sky. Elsewhere, a muscular blonde man was utterly ecstatic, punching through a sandbag and celebrating his newfound power. His leader warned him not to be too complacent, as Ye Xiao had already reached level 40 and was extremely powerful. But the blonde man and another accomplice confidently asserted that the 5 of them could easily take down Ye Xiao. Suddenly, the wall behind them exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Amidst the smoke and dust, Ye Xiao appeared and declared, "No need to wait, I'm here." The man in white's group was horrified to realize the intruder was Ye Xiao and were stunned, unable to understand how he found this place. Ye Xiao looked at them contemptuously, mocking, "Just a few of you think you can stab me in the back in the real world?" Without another word, he roared, "If you have any questions, go ask King Yama." He charged forward, delivering a fiery punch straight to the muscular blonde man's face. The terrifying power of the attack sent both leaders flying amidst desperate screams. At the same moment, the building where they were hiding began to shake violently. Ye Xiao stepped outside, leaving an entire building engulfed in flames behind him. He looked out at the chaotic street, where panicked citizens were fleeing as someone shouted that the police had arrived. Sure enough, a white-haired man was challenging the armed forces, yelling, "I'm not afraid, even if the army comes." The armed forces immediately took position, pointing their weapons at the troublemakers. Ye Xiao calmly faced them and asked, "Who are you?" A man stepped forward, introduced himself as Li Huan, the governor of Jiangcheng, and offered to speak with him privately. Ye Xiao agreed to listen, which pleased Li Huan. Li Huan began to explain that the entire city of Jiangcheng was currently plunged into chaos. He solemnly proposed that Ye Xiao help the government restore order to the city. Ye Xiao accepted the offer but included a request, and Li Huan immediately agreed to hear it. Meanwhile, news of Ye Xiao's appearance and confirmation by the government spread across all forums, bringing hope for stability. The red-haired commander also read the news and was surprised to learn it was truly Ye Xiao. Elsewhere, Qin Yanran smiled smugly, secretly blaming others and thinking Ye Xiao was too petty. She stood up, determined to find Ye Xiao again, confident that he would definitely return to her side. In Jiangcheng, order had been restored, and the streets were once again bustling with people. A group of players stood before the ruins, sighing that it was thanks to Ye Xiao that the city had escaped chaos. Looking down from above, Ye Xiao thought to himself that he had finally returned, while Ebisu on his shoulder pointed out that everyone was talking about him. Ye Xiao headed toward a building marked with an axe symbol, ignoring Ebisu's comment about him always hiding after achieving a great feat. Inside the forge, the dwarf Saul joyfully welcomed his master's return. Ye Xiao handed Saul a blueprint scroll and asked him to look it over. Saul opened the blueprint, astonished to realize it was the epic-grade equipment Claw of the Divine Beast, and Ye Xiao asked if it could be forged. After careful examination, Saul confirmed that this blueprint was beyond epic grade and might be part of an equipment set. Ye Xiao then presented another blueprint for the helmet of the Divine Beast, stunning Saul because he finally got to see a complete equipment set. He asked Saul how long it would take to forge both items. Saul replied that if Dulan helped, they would finish in about 3 days, and Ye Xiao agreed to that time frame. Saul guaranteed he would satisfy his master, receiving an approving nod from Ye Xiao. Afterward, Ye Xiao went to the pet taming shop. As soon as he entered, the shop owner rushed out to greet and respectfully serve Ye Xiao. The owner praised Ye Xiao's pet for its impressive aura, causing Ebisu to angrily retort. Ye Xiao stated his purpose directly, to buy all the highest quality pet taming fruits. He decisively requested the owner to package all the level 4 and level 5 fruits the store had. Although slightly surprised, the owner happily complied, and quickly prepared the goods for him. In another room, the little dragon Xiaohui was happily enjoying a fruit feast next to the glowing phoenix egg. Ye Xiao smiled, and told Xiaohui to eat slowly while checking a virtual information panel. Ye Xiao checked the status panel of Little Ash and was astonished by its terrifying power. After eating its fill, Little Ash contentedly exhaled a blast of hot air. Feeling bored while waiting, Ye Xiao decided to take Little Ash out for a walk. The two arrived at the mysterious forest, a leveling zone designated for levels 40 to 50. Ye Xiao excitedly asked Little Ash to demonstrate its power. Immediately, a horde of ferocious ginseng giants charged toward them. Facing the enemy, the entire horde of monsters rushed forward to attack simultaneously. Little Ash did not flinch. It roared and unleashed a powerful dragon breath. With just a single strike, the ginseng giant boss was completely annihilated. Thanks to this, both Ye Xiao and Little Ash leveled up to 41, but he realized the required experience had skyrocketed. Undeterred, Ye Xiao decided to venture deeper into the forest to hunt more monsters. He signaled Little Ash to continue the hunt with him. Meanwhile, other players looked at the rankings and mocked that Ye Xiao's speed had finally slowed down. However, many more experienced players realized the terrifying difficulty of leveling up past the level 40 mark. One desperate player lamented that at this rate, it would take him a lifetime to reach level 100. Back in the forest, Ye Xiao stood before the corpse of a giant bear boss, thinking to himself that even this wasn't enough to level up. Ebisu, perched on his shoulder, suddenly spoke up, reminding him that the phoenix egg was close to hatching. Hearing this, Ye Xiao immediately summoned the fiery egg to check it. Just then, the egg suddenly shook violently, exciting Ye Xiao greatly. Cracks began to appear on the surface, signaling that the mythical creature inside was about to be born. The phoenix egg shattered in a brilliant explosion of light. A massive pillar of light shot straight into the sky, forcing Ye Xiao to shield his eyes. From within the light, a young phoenix with magnificent red and gold plumage soared upward. Ebisu, on Ye Xiao's shoulder, exclaimed in astonishment that this creature had existed for hundreds of years without hatching, and Ye Xiao was lucky once again. Ye Xiao checked the status panel and was stunned to realize that this mythical great immortal phoenix was even stronger than the Azure Sky Dragon. He was overjoyed, realizing that its area of effect skills were exactly what he needed. Ye Xiao stroked the phoenix, suggesting they call it Little Fire instead of the name Luo Huang that its mother had given it. The phoenix looked displeased, resolutely rejecting the other names he suggested. Ye Xiao laughed, pretending to indulge it, and called it Luo Huang. Seeing the phoenix remain stubborn, he decided to finalize a new name, Xiao Luo. Suddenly, Ye Xiao noticed something unusual when he looked toward the Azure Sky Dragon. A wave of pitch-black poisonous gas began spreading throughout the forest. The Azure Sky Dragon identified it as poison gas from hideous rats, capable of causing continuous poison damage. The Azure Sky Dragon immediately unleashed a stream of fire to attack, but Ye Xiao hastily yelled at it not to fight, and to run away quickly. A massive swarm of venomous rats with bloodshot eyes was rushing toward them from all directions. Ye Xiao panicked, realizing their numbers were too great, and shouted for everyone to flee. Before long, he was surrounded on all sides by the venomous rats, with no path of retreat. Cornered, Ye Xiao looked up and shouted, ordering Xiao Luo to join the battle. Xiao Luo dove down from above, its entire body erupting in blazing flames, ready to incinerate the enemies. Xiao Luo descended like a fiery meteor, leaving a long scorching trail across the sky. The sea of fire immediately engulfed the venomous rats, dealing tens of thousands of damage and causing them to shriek miserably. Every single monster exploded in the phoenix flames, without any chance of resistance. Ye Xiao watched with folded arms, delightedly comparing the magnificent scene to setting off fireworks. Amidst the sea of fire, Xiao Luo let out a resounding cry, its form becoming more majestic and powerful. A massive pillar of light shot straight up from the ground, signaling that Ye Xiao and his spirit beasts had leveled up simultaneously. Ye Xiao cheered happily when the notification panel confirmed he had reached level 43. Meanwhile, other players stared dumbfounded at the world rankings, unable to understand how Ye Xiao could gain 2 levels in a single day. Before they could recover from the shock, they saw the rankings update again. Ye Xiao had reached level 44. Astonishment turned into panic as they watched him leap to level 45, then level 46 inches the blink of an eye. On the forums, the player community exploded, all stunned when Ye Xiao hit the level 47 milestone. Ye Xiao thought to himself that even after wiping out all the rats within a 1-mile radius, he had only gained 5 levels. He thanked Xiao Luo for its hard work, then continued forward with his 2 spirit beasts. The group ventured deeper into the dense forest, determined to reach the level 50 goal. Before long, they encountered another horde of giant wild boar monsters. Without hesitation, Ye Xiao roared, ordering his phoenix to continue the work. Xiao Luo dove down once more, carrying the destructive power of divine fire. The new horde of monsters suffered the same fate, completely incinerated in the sea of fire. Ye Xiao smiled contentedly as the system announced he had reached level 48, getting closer to his goal. Ye Xiao checked the control panel, wondering if there were any system announcement. He was delighted to see the message from Fenghe City reporting that the Divine Beast equipment set was complete. Accompanied by the Immortal Phoenix and the Azure Sky Dragon, Ye Xiao decided to return to the city to check it out. He quickly arrived at a building in Fenghe City. Inside the forge, Ye Xiao asked the dwarf Saul if the Divine Beast equipment set was ready. Saul proudly held up a pair of gloves and introduced them as a work of art. The blacksmith explained that during the crafting process, he had discovered that the equipment possessed hidden functions, which piqued Ye Xiao's curiosity. After putting on the Divine Beast claws, Ye Xiao read the stats and learned that they could hide or reveal their appearance, so he immediately decided to try it out. Saul continued to introduce the remaining piece of equipment, the Divine Beast helmet. Ye Xiao donned the entire set, activating the Divine Beast's Blessing Resonance effect, which reduced damage and increased resistance to all attributes. He marveled at the power of the equipment set, while Ebisu, sitting on his shoulder, bluntly criticized the helmet for being too ugly. Ye Xiao laughed and replied to Old Hui that the equipment only needed to be practical, and besides, he could completely conceal its appearance. Thanking Saul for his hard work, Ye Xiao said he had other matters to attend to and left. While walking down the street, Ye Xiao overheard a conversation about a major event that seemed to have occurred in Shuiyu City. He decided to inquire about the news and immediately thought of someone who might know the details. Meanwhile, a subordinate informed Dolores that she had a visitor, but she indifferently told him to say she wasn't present. Ye Xiao suddenly appeared and teased her, startling Dolores, who grumbled that nothing good ever happened whenever he showed up. He asked directly about the situation in Shuiyu City, and Dolores confirmed that the nearby area was being invaded by a gray mist. She further explained that, according to ancient records, its appearance seemed to be linked to an evil god. Ye Xiao showed interest when Dolores revealed that this evil god specialized in spreading plagues and viruses. He asked for the evil god's name, and Dolores stated it was Sekhmet, advising him not to get involved in this mess. Despite the warning, Ye Xiao insisted that he wanted to go to Shuiyu City, prompting Dolores to reveal that she also had an investigation mission there. Ye Xiao happily said that traveling with Sister Tao made him feel safe, but she brushed him off and arranged to depart early the next morning. With a confident smile, Ye Xiao confirmed that their agreement was sealed. He scrolled through the player messages, astonished to learn that Shuiyu City was being destroyed by a strange fog. Noticing that other major cities were also experiencing problems, he wondered what was truly happening. Yi Xiao pondered the true purpose of the evil god Sekhmet. Dolores led him outside, explaining that they could use a Supreme Hall teleportation array to go directly to the outskirts of Shuiyu City. She raised her staff, activating a swirling blue spatial gate. Ye Xiao offered another compliment, but Dolores seriously urged him to hurry because the teleportation gate was unstable. She called him Kid, while Ye Xiao excitedly announced that he was about to arrive at Shuiyu City. The two stepped through the teleportation gate together. They appeared in a lush area outside the city. Ye Xiao commented that the place was exactly as expected, surrounded by lakes and green trees. Dolores suddenly pointed into the distance with a tense expression. They both realized that the gray mist was spreading faster than anticipated. Dolores asked where he was going, and Ye Xiao firmly replied that he would proceed into the main city. As Ye Xiao walked away, Dolores called for him to wait for her. Ye Xiao reminded Dolores that the mission to investigate the gray mist was hers. Dolores irritably said she wouldn't accompany him, while Ye Xiao casually bid her farewell. Upon arrival, Ye Xiao realized he was standing before the gates of Shuiyu City. He was puzzled to see a dense stream of people flocking out of the city. In the crowd, people complained about a group of miners who had angered the gods, causing disaster for the entire city, with only one little girl surviving. Ye Xiao immediately approached a bearded man to ask about the girl. But the man looked at him with suspicion. He then showed his badge, explaining that he had been dispatched by the Supreme Hall to investigate the source of the gray mist. Recognizing Ye Xiao's identity, someone in the crowd revealed that the girl's name was Aisha, the daughter of a miner, and that her entire family had been infected. The bearded man stated that Aisha was currently quarantined at the church inside the city. Another kind person warned Ye Xiao that once infected with the gray mist, even the best healers were helpless. Ye Xiao thanked everyone for the information, and they wished him a safe journey. Having identified his goal, he decided he must go to the church to find Aisha. However, upon arrival, two guards blocked his path and demanded that he leave immediately. Ye Xiao then declared that he was a viscount of the empire sent to investigate, despite the guard's disbelief. After verifying his identity, the guard immediately changed his attitude and respectfully invited him inside. Inside, a woman named Xena was informed of the arrival of an imperial viscount. Ye Xiao stated his purpose directly. He wanted to examine the gray mist infection on Aisha, and Xena agreed to lead the way. Before a dark door, Xena warned the viscount that the gray mist was highly contagious and incurable. Ye Xiao secretly calculated whether his shield effect could resist the gray mist infection. Standing before the quarantine room, Ye Xiao wondered if his shield could withstand the gray mist. Xena explained that it depended on the density of the fog. If it was too thick, a high-level shield would be required. Ye Xiao confidently declared that his fortune god's shield could resist any kind of fog, increasing Xena's admiration. He stepped into the room and called Aisha's name, but the little girl frantically told him not to come closer. With a sad expression, Aisha warned him that he would be infected. Ye Xiao reassured the girl that he would be fine while the money shield was activated, causing Aisha to ask again in surprise. He asked to see the small vial in her hand, and Aisha agreed. Holding the purple crystal vial, Ye Xiao read the information that it could resist the gray mist but was cursed. He immediately felt the damage from the curse, and confirmed that the item was truly dangerous. Ye Xiao commented that this was a unique item only beneficial to Aisha, then asked the girl where she had picked it up. After thinking for a moment, Aisha recounted that she had found it in a cave at Griffin Lake. Ye Xiao silently confirmed the location in his mind. He smiled, having obtained the clue he needed. He thanked Aisha for her valuable help. Aisha thanked him for visiting and gave him a small glass orb as a gift. Ye Xiao examined the new gift and thought that it might be useful. He bid Aisha farewell and promised to return after dealing with the gray mist. Outside, Xena anxiously asked if he had any clues, and Ye Xiao replied that he would be heading to Griffin Lake. Ye Xiao smiled confidently, saying not to worry because he was going there precisely to resolve the gray mist issue. Xena smiled, acknowledging Ye Xiao as an extraordinary person, and her favorability increased. Advancing alone into the fog, Ye Xiao noticed the poison damage increasing as he approached Griffin Lake. He continued walking through the toxic gray mist that covered a vast area. Although continuously losing HP, he maintained a calm expression, thoroughly analyzing the situation. Ye Xiao determined that Griffin Lake was less than 5 kilometers to the north. Suddenly, a burly warrior in the fog noticed the presence of another person. Ye Xiao also sensed them and wondered if they were people from the Supreme Hall. Meanwhile, Dolores's group was arguing, with her subordinates trying to persuade her not to abandon the mission. A pessimistic antlered warrior suggested that the mission had failed and proposed that the group should retreat. Just then, Ye Xiao appeared and casually greeted Dolores like an old acquaintance. Dolores asked in surprise why Ye Xiao was there, further astonishing her subordinates. He explained that he had a clue and asked about their purpose, learning that they were also investigating the gray mist. Ye Xiao coldly told them to continue their work, then turned and walked straight ahead. Dolores's entire group stared after him, unable to believe his recklessness and calm demeanor. The subordinates confusedly asked Dolores for her opinion, and the antlered warrior suggested they should also try to enter. Driven by pride, Dolores yelled that she would never admit defeat and decided she must go. But immediately, she became arrogant again, saying that if they wanted to die, they should go ahead, and she would burn offerings for them. Leaving the confused group behind, Ye Xiao advanced deeper into the toxic fog and began to cough. He realized the damage had increased to 200 per second, indicating he was nearing the source of the gray mist. Ye Xiao reached Griffin Lake, which he believed was the source of the problem. The chaotic scene of dead griffin corpses scattered everywhere made him frown. He realized he had to quickly find the source of this corruption. In the distance, Ye Xiao spotted a strange cave surrounded by purple crystals. He approached the entrance and confirmed this was the cave Aisha had mentioned. Inside, he found countless purple crystal vials, exactly as the girl had described. A strange red light deep inside caught Ye Xiao's attention, urging him to go in and investigate. He discovered a secret passage leading down to a hidden cellar. Stepping inside, Ye Xiao was astonished to see a divine statue and realized he had come to the right place. Sensing the divine aura, he was certain this was the dwelling of another god. His attention focused on a glowing object on the altar. Ye Xiao picked up a jade-colored plate, and the system confirmed it was an unidentified divine artifact. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed from the statue, making him turn around in surprise. The stone statue came to life, its eyes glowing, and asked if he was ready to begin the Holy Spirit's challenge. Ye Xiao was stunned by the sudden question about a challenge. Immediately, a powerful suction force erupted from the altar, pulling him and Ebisu inside. He was violently thrown onto the ground, crying out in pain. When he lifted his head, Ye Xiao realized he was in the middle of a gigantic gladiatorial arena. From a distance, Ebisu looked around and casually thought that he could use this opportunity to escape. A mysterious voice echoed throughout the arena, declaring that this challenge could only end in death. Ye Xiao's first opponent appeared, a wrestling giant named Abak. The information panel appeared, revealing Abak was a level 48 Lord-class boss with 5,000 HP and a record of 100 consecutive victories. Ye Xiao looked up at his giant opponent and exclaimed in astonishment. He panicked upon realizing that the very first enemy was already a Lord-class boss. Realizing this challenge was even harder than the promotion challenge, Ye Xiao immediately summoned the little dragon Xiaohui. Xiaohui immediately shot a fireball that struck Abak's head. The giant staggered from the attack, clutching a massive stone mace. Ye Xiao smiled approvingly, noting that Xiaohui had learned how to use cunning. Ye Xiao smiled approvingly, noting that Xiaohui had learned how to use cunning. Ye Xiao smiled approvingly, noting that Xiaohui had learned how to use cunning. Xiaohui rushed forward, unleashing a series of consecutive attacks, each dealing 5,000 damage. Severely wounded, Abak roared and entered a furious state, his entire body emitting a red glow. Ye Xiao realized that when enraged, the boss's defense had also increased. He confidently summoned his second spirit beast, the phoenix Xiao Luo. Xiao Luo soared into the sky, spitting out a blazing stream of fire. The stream of fire engulfed Abak, causing the giant to scream in pain. Scorched by the phoenix flames, Abak collapsed onto the arena floor, completely defeated. A system notification sounded, congratulating Ye Xiao on successfully eliminating the Lord-class boss, the wrestling giant Abak. Following the victory, a notification appeared. Ye Xiao's phoenix, Luo Huang, had leveled up to 43, increasing all stats. Ye Xiao happily collected the spoils from Abak, including an epic tier shield and 2 dark gold tier pieces of equipment. Suddenly, the Holy Spirit appeared in the stands, congratulating Ye Xiao on defeating Abak but warning that it was not yet time to celebrate. With glowing eyes, the Holy Spirit declared that Ye Xiao was about to face the true brutality of this arena. Immediately, a colossal figure descended in front of Ye Xiao as the Holy Spirit summoned the next opponent, Alec. The swift giantess Alec, a level 48 Lord-class boss with a record of 100 victories, stood towering before him. Ye Xiao was stunned, unable to believe he had to face another Lord-class boss immediately. Alec roared furiously upon seeing Abak's corpse, shouting at Ye Xiao, "How dare you kill my husband?" She immediately raised her hand, casting a resurrection spell on Abak's body, intending to bring her husband back. Still trying to resurrect him? Ye Xiao growled, ordering Xiao Luo and Xiao Hui not to give her a chance. Instantly, both the phoenix and the dragon unleashed their Dragon King's breath, launching a fierce attack on Alec. Scorched by the dual flames, Alec screamed in agony and collapsed, a notification confirming her elimination. Ye Xiao scoffed, thinking she wasn't very strong and was disappointed that no spoils had dropped. Thinking the challenge was over, he recalled his 2 spirit beasts and turned to leave. But behind him, Abak suddenly sat up, roaring, "Giants are immortal!" and searched for his mace. Ye Xiao turned back, utterly astonished to see that Abak had actually been resurrected and was standing tall. Now even more furious, Abak roared that he would avenge his recently killed wife. Losing all patience, Ye Xiao roared, "Are you two done yet? Xiao Luo, Xiao Hui, Eliminate this couple. Another destructive stream of fire surged forward, engulfing Abak's body once more. After defeating the two giants, Ye Xiao happily collected the spoils, a black gold tier armor set, and an epic tier dagger. He admired the new dagger with satisfaction. Another epic tier piece of equipment was now in his possession. Suddenly, the Holy Spirit appeared and declared that Ye Xiao's will had been recognized, and the path to the holy seat would be open. The deity roared, unleashing a destructive surge of power that shook the entire arena. From the ground, a gigantic statue clad in black armor emerged, making Ye Xiao wonder about this unique mechanism. The statue stood towering on a stone pedestal, and Ye Xiao cautiously approached to inspect it. He discovered a glowing green disc-shaped object resting on the pedestal. Ye Xiao picked it up, guessing it was a divine artifact, but an angry voice from the statue roared at him to put it down. The statue warned that he was not qualified to touch the object. Recognizing the familiar gray mist, Ye Xiao concluded that this entity was the one behind everything. Just then, Azure Sky Dragon unexpectedly appeared and let out an angry roar. The spirit beast charged straight toward the statue, despite Ye Xiao calling its name in surprise. Azure Sky Dragon unleashed a powerful attack, radiating the might of a dragon. In the blink of an eye, the statue was shattered into pieces. Ye Xiao stood frozen, completely bewildered by what had just happened. From the rubble, an evil dragon emerged. The system announced it was the corrupted evil Holy Spirit, level 48, bearing an identical resemblance to Azure Sky Dragon. Ye Xiao was horrified to realize its stats were exactly the same as his spirit beasts. While the evil dragon declared it would grant him a merciful death, the evil Holy Spirit roared, "Go to hell," and began its attack. Ye Xiao continuously took damage, and immediately ordered Azure Sky Dragon to seal the opponent's skill. Azure Sky Dragon soared into the sky, executing its ultimate skill and creating a gigantic golden magic circle. The evil Holy Spirit smugly declared its forbidden technique, challenging that any trump card held by a mortal would be useless. Ye Xiao was astonished to realize that even Azure Sky Dragon was forbidden from using magic. Enraged, he summoned his second trump card. "Xiao Luo, come out here and teach it a lesson." The evil Holy Spirit was stunned to see that Ye Xiao actually possessed a second spirit beast. Ye Xiao mocked his opponent and ordered Immortal Phoenix to attack without mercy. Immortal Phoenix roared, condensing a destructive fireball above its head. Freed from the forbidden technique, Azure Sky Dragon also shot into the sky, blazing with power. The dragon let out a sky-shaking roar, ready for the combined strike. Both the dragon and the phoenix attacked simultaneously, leaving the evil Holy Spirit only enough time for a desperate scream of no. With its body being torn apart, the evil Holy Spirit stubbornly threatened that daring to insult a god meant this wasn't over. Before dissolving into fragments, it uttered a final warning, but Ye Xiao contemptuously called it trash. A majestic voice echoed in the arena, thanking the hero for driving out Sekhmet and liberating the place. The voice explained that a golden crystal would serve as certification for the one fortunate enough to meet the Holy Spirit. Ye Xiao accepted the item Holy Spirit's guidance, unexpectedly gaining further rewards and activating a new hidden quest. The system announced that he had completed the challenge and began teleporting him out. Meanwhile, Dolores and her subordinates were anxiously observing the increasingly terrifying gray mist. Dolores seemed unconcerned, asserting that Ye Xiao was tougher than a cockroach. Suddenly, someone in the group noticed the mist thinning and gradually dissipating. Ye Xiao emerged from the teleportation circle, calling out Dolores' name. Dolores and her people were astonished to see him return safely. Dolores questioned Ye Xiao about what he had done, and he casually replied that he had smashed a god statue to disperse the mist. She became furious, unable to believe Ye Xiao dared to insult a god, and threatened to buy him a coffin in advance. Ye Xiao grabbed Dolores' hand, mischievously asking how she planned to thank him for resolving the matter for her. He continued listing potential rewards, causing Dolores confusion, and she accused him of taking advantage of the situation. To escape the conversation, Dolores hastily opened a teleportation gate and left, ignoring Ye Xiao calling out for her not to run away. In Shuiyu City, the sky had cleared once more. The city residents were overjoyed, thanking heaven and earth that the gray mist had finally vanished. Meanwhile, in a dark grand hall, the evil Holy Spirit sensed the presence of an extremely powerful deity. It thought to itself that if it could absorb this divine power, it would surely break its own limits. The stone shell encasing the evil spirit's body began to crack. Completely freed from the seal, it stretched, ready for action. A divine phantom appeared, calling the evil spirit Semiket and questioning it about abandoning its mission. But Semiket merely mocked the other deity as a fool. Semiket declared that the Holy Spirit arena had been liberated, and this time it would descend in its true form to restore order. The other deity issued a final warning, threatening to strip Semiket of its divine power. Soaring away, Semiket vowed to devour the ignorant humans and make the one who freed it pay for his arrogance. Back at the Shuiyu City Lord's mansion, Sheena formally expressed her deep gratitude to Ye Xiao for saving the entire city. Ye Xiao inquired about the condition of the little girl Aisha, and Gina happily reported that she and all the other infected people had fully recovered. A dignified man stepped forward, introducing himself as the city lord, and showing great curiosity about the hero who had just appeared. Gina introduced Ye Xiao to the city lord, and he politely greeted him. City Lord Duan laughed heartily, praising Ye Xiao as an extraordinary person, while system notifications appeared, confirming he had gained favorability and a new title. Dolores, Ye Xiao, Duan, and Sheena stood together, and Dolores appeared to have grasped the situation. City Lord Duan speculated that the Grey Mist incident was related to the gods, but Ye Xiao humbly replied that he still didn't fully understand everything. To show goodwill, Duan gave Ye Xiao a personal communication token and promised to help if needed. Ye Xiao politely accepted the token and thanked the city lord. He secretly thought that a favor from a level 100 warrior like the city lord was extremely valuable. After Duan excused himself to attend to city matters, Ye Xiao also said goodbye to return to Fengye City. Dolores offered to use a teleportation array to take Ye Xiao, and he immediately thanked her, calling her Sister Dao. The scene shifted to the bustling streets of the main Fengye City. Immediately upon returning, Ye Xiao went to meet the dwarf Saul and asked him to help appraise an item. He handed Saul a green plate and asked if the dwarf recognized it. Saul initially thought it was just a dinner plate, causing Ye Xiao to angrily remind him that it was a divine artifact. Looking closer, Saul detected a hateful scent on the plate, which was restricting its power. The dwarf resolutely raised his hammer, declaring he would make it shine again. Saul began hammering the divine artifact, making Ye Xiao anxiously shout for him to be gentle. After being purified, the item's information appeared. Lapis Lazuli Plate, a divine artifact capable of holding Saint-Shattering tier item. Saul was proud that he had correctly guessed it was a plate, while Ye Xiao pondered its true use. Ye Xiao was astonished to realize that the Saint-Shattering tier was a legendary level, far surpassing the Heaven-Destroying tier. He decided to put the plate away and asked Saul to help appraise some other dark gold equipment. On the way, Dolores reminded him that he was about to reach level 50 and needed to prepare for the next promotion challenge. Hearing this, Ye Xiao immediately summoned the Azure Sky Dragon and excitedly set off for a good grinding spot. Ye Xiao arrived at the gravel wasteland, a barren area. The area was swarming with a massive horde of level 50 spiny sand scorpion. Despite the warning that he would be in trouble if they targeted him, Ye Xiao merely smirked, dismissing it as no big deal. He ordered the Azure Sky Dragon, "Xiao Hui, show them what you've got." The Azure Sky Dragon roared and unleashed the Dragon King's breath. Fireballs rained down, incinerating and exploding the scorpion horde. The scorpions were flung into the air by the force of the attack. Seeing that the speed was still a bit slow, Ye Xiao summoned the Immortal Phoenix. "Xiao Luo, your turn." The Immortal Phoenix shot into the sky, transforming into a massive pillar of fire. It turned into a brilliant fireball, like a falling comet, ready to strike the enemies. The entire scorpion horde was engulfed in the terrifying explosion. The ground shook as the destructive flames swept away everything in their path. Ye Xiao crossed his arms, satisfied with the terrifying power of his two spirit beasts. A series of system notifications appeared. Ye Xiao and Xiao Hui had both reached level 50, unlocking new innate skills. He smiled as he read the information about the new skill, Eye of the God of Wealth, which allowed him to pay money to view enemy information. Ye Xiao was even more astonished to see that Xiao Hui's Dragon King body skill could grant immunity to almost all crowd control effect. He clenched his fist, declaring that everything was ready for the promotion challenge. Ye Xiao returned to the main Fengye city. He went straight to the city lord's mansion, explaining that the entrance to the World Temple for the level 50 challenge was located. Inside, Governor Aaron asked in surprise if Ye Xiao intended to go to the imperial capital so soon, and he calmly confirmed it. Governor Aaron announced that the teleportation gate to the imperial capital had been destroyed, causing Ye Xiao a moment of worry. However, he revealed that there was a hidden teleportation gate in Duchess Sophia's mansion. Ye Xiao smiled confidently, showing great familiarity with the name. Soon after, he arrived at the Duchess's magnificent mansion. Inside, Sophia was waiting anxiously, pouting that if Ye Xiao hadn't come, she would have posted a missing person report. Ye Xiao appeared and politely kissed her hand, announcing that he had arrived. He got straight to the point, saying he needed to go to the imperial capital, and Sophia immediately understood he wanted to use her teleportation gate. Sophia agreed to lead the way, but warned that the teleportation gate had not been used for a very long time. Standing before the magic array, Sophia confessed that the last time she activated it was when she was a little girl, but Ye Xiao still encouraged her to try. With a clack, Sophia decisively pulled a lever on the wall. The teleportation array immediately lit up, and Ye Xiao praised Sophia, while she urged him to hurry because it wouldn't last long. Ye Xiao promised to return and repay her immediately after completing the promotion challenge, and Sophia asked him to send her regards to the king. She gently reminded Ye Xiao that he must remember to come back for her after he was done. Ye Xiao successfully teleported, appearing in the courtyard of a fortress in the imperial capital. Two level 80 guards immediately stopped him, questioning the unexpected intruder. Ye Xiao calmly explained that he came from Fengye City and was assisted by Lady Sophia. He introduced himself as Viscount Ye Xiao, causing the guards to immediately change their attitude and apologize for their disrespect. The two guards solemnly saluted according to military protocol, but Ye Xiao waved them off and asked for directions to the World Temple. One of the guards immediately took on the task of guiding him. Along the way, the guard asked if Ye Xiao was there to undertake the level 50 promotion challenge, and he confirmed it. The guard explained that with his Viscount status, Ye Xiao could receive priority processing to enter the World Temple, and he quickly agreed. Looking up, Ye Xiao couldn't help but be astonished by the sight before him. The World Temple appeared magnificent, suspended among the clouds. Behind the temple stood the colossal World Tree, where players could receive the god's recognition if they climbed to the top. Approaching the foot of the stairs, Ye Xiao saw 3 people waiting and wondered if they were waiting for. An elderly man introduced himself as Abochi, a level 5 deacon of the temple, who had come to welcome Ye Xiao. Along the way, Abochi asked Ye Xiao which difficulty level challenge he intended to participate in, and he decisively replied, Abyss. Abochi warned that the level 50 challenge had double the difficulty, but Ye Xiao affirmed his determination. After wishing Ye Xiao good luck, Abochi escorted him to the teleportation gate of the trial area. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a soldier rushed in breathlessly to report news to his master. The soldier informed a man in blue armor that Ye Xiao had arrived at the imperial capital. The man flew into a rage, unable to believe Ye Xiao dared to come here alone after everything that had happened. Clenching his fist, he ordered his subordinates to take the bodyguards and go teach Ye Xiao a lesson. The soldier hesitated, reminding him that Ye Xiao was at the World Temple, but the man arrogantly declared himself Prince Karami, and that no one would dare block his path. Finally, Karami gave a decisive order, and the soldier had no choice but to obey. Ye Xiao was teleported to the trial grounds, a seemingly peaceful forest. He walked with the Azure Sky Dragon, wondering why the level 50 challenge didn't have a single monster. Suddenly, a colossal purple energy sphere hurtled down from the sky, astonishing Ye Xiao. It collided with the ground, creating a violent explosion. From within the purple smoke, a massive, muscular, 4-legged creature landed. The system displayed the information for the first boss, Broken Tooth Black Sky Tiger, level 50. Ye Xiao realized this was a Lord-class boss with a potential HP exceeding 1 million. Without hesitation, he ordered Xiao Hui to charge forward and test its strength. The Azure Sky Dragon soared into the sky, unleashing a powerful stream of dragon fire. Ye Xiao excitedly cheered for his spirit beast to attack even more fiercely. The flames struck the Broken Tooth Black Sky Tiger's wing, causing it to roar in pain. Provoked, the monster raised its head and roared back at the Azure Sky Dragon. The Azure Sky Dragon immediately activated the power of the dragon, radiating a golden aura. Destructive energy enveloped the Broken Tooth Black Sky Tiger, dealing immense damage, and Ye Xiao praised it gleefully. After just one strike, the Lord-class boss completely collapsed. Ye Xiao approached and wondered what equipment the boss had dropped. He was satisfied to pick up an epic-grade sword and a pair of dark gold-grade rings. Having collected the spoils, Ye Xiao and Xiao Hui decided to venture deeper into the trial area. Meanwhile, a group of influential people were watching the battle through a crystal ball, astonished to see the Lord-class Tiger defeated. They discussed animatedly, unable to believe Ye Xiao's power in an abyss difficulty challenge. A man in a white hooded cloak spoke up, asking everyone to observe calmly. He explained that the level 50 abyss challenge was not simply about Lord-class monster. Returning to the battlefield, Ye Xiao was already facing the second boss, a colossal blue werewolf. The observation group was stunned once again, and Abochi admitted that even in his prime, he would have been defeated by such power. Suddenly, the image in the crystal ball changed, showing the colossal foot of another monster, confusing everyone. The observers were perplexed when the crystal ball suddenly glitched and went dark. The man in the white hooded cloak speculated that their scrying eye had been blocked by an extremely powerful force. The entire group became chaotic, loudly complaining about the sudden interruption of the good show. Meanwhile, Ye Xiao was resting after the battle, and Abisu expressed concern about the final challenge. Ye Xiao looked toward the castle, asserting that the final boss must be an immortal-level monster that had never appeared before, and he was determined to challenge it. Ebisu was terrified and wanted to hide in the pet space, but Ye Xiao only responded with a joke about inheriting his debt. With surging momentum, he shouted, "Let's go," and advanced forward. Ye Xiao stood before a gigantic stone slab, ignoring the system's danger warning and boldly challenging the enemy. His face shone with unwavering resolve. Before him was a colossal black shadow, and Ye Xiao immediately recognized it as an immortal-level entity. The information panel displayed the boss's name as Invader of the Abyss, but all stats and skills were unknown. To find out, Ye Xiao decided to use the Eye of the God of Wealth. He was astonished when tens of thousands of gold coins vanished instantly to activate the skill. In return, a long list of the boss's terrifying skills and passive abilities appeared before his eyes. Ye Xiao was overwhelmed by the terrifying number of skills possessed by an immortal-level boss. The Invader of the Abyss spoke, threatening to incinerate all intruders, prompting Ye Xiao to utter a sarcastic remark. Without hesitation, Ye Xiao summoned his 2 mythical spirit beasts, Xiao Hui and Xiao Luo. The dragon and the phoenix immediately flew up, simultaneously unleashing 2 streams of destructive energy. The 2 powerful attacks converged, creating a massive explosion right where the boss stood. However, Ye Xiao was stunned to realize that the boss had dodged the combined attack. In the abyss, the invader appeared, radiating a dark aura. Seeing the Azure Sky Dragon fly up, Ye Xiao quickly shouted, "Little Ash, get out of the way!" The Azure Sky Dragon was hit by an invisible blow, taking 9,999 damage and roared in pain. Immediately, it activated Supreme Authority of the Dragon, releasing ripples of golden energy. The Azure Sky Dragon and the Immortal Phoenix simultaneously unleashed powerful energy streams, continuously draining the invader's vitality. Ye Xiao explained, "Great counterattack, Little Ash. Now it's magic. Forbidden and can't use skills." Provoked, the invader roared, "You cunning mortals, I will turn you into blood and gore." A star-shaped purple light began to gather inside its hood. Ye Xiao realized with horror, "This is bad. This boss is using its ultimate move." A massive purple energy field enveloped Ye Xiao, the Azure Sky Dragon, and the Immortal Phoenix. Ye Xiao analyzed the skill, Horn of the God of Destruction's Wrath, and knew it dealt 100% true damage. Having no other choice, he decided to take the risk, activating the money shield for defense. The purple energy vortex struck, completely engulfing Ye Xiao. He screamed and was knocked backward, fresh blood spilling from the corner of his mouth. Despite being injured, Ye Xiao stood firm and exclaimed, "That was tough." The invader roared, "Die," and unleashed a massive energy vortex. The vortex aimed directly at the two spirit beasts, and the boss's voice echoed, "I will devour you, ants." Ye Xiao was desperate as he couldn't break the barrier, but then a notification appeared. The effect of the cold stone has been activated. Holding the brightly glowing item, he charged straight toward the purple energy barrier. The invader's seemingly impenetrable defensive wall shattered into pieces. Ye Xiao hastily summoned Little Ash and Xiaoluo out. He immediately ordered them to quickly flee the area. Facing the terrifying explosion that was closing in, he rushed forward with all his might. The terrifying destructive force flung Ye Xiao out of the entrance, causing him to scream for help. After escaping, he was stunned to realize that the money shield had consumed over 10 million gold to withstand this overwhelmingly powerful attack. Looking back at the battlefield, now just ruins, Ye Xiao sighed in relief that the final boss had finally been defeated. He approached the corpse of the invader of the abyss, and was disappointed that no equipment had dropped. Suddenly, a blue glowing object emerged from the boss's corpse. Ye Xiao picked it up, realizing this was the 5th abyssal stone fragment he had collected. Suddenly, the stone fragments emitted a dazzling light, forcing him to squint. The 5 fragments hovered in his hand, preparing to merge into one. They combined to form a golden key, identified by the system as the Shattered Abyssal Key. Ye Xiao wondered what a broken key could possibly be used for. Meanwhile, the server-wide announcement that Ye Xiao had cleared the level 50 challenge shocked the other players. They discussed animatedly, realizing that level 50 was the true starting point and the place to acquire high-level equipment. Realizing that Ye Xiao was monopolizing the new area, all players were determined to level up quickly. Ye Xiao was teleported to a place called the Supreme Hall, and was surprised by its emptiness. He spotted people in the distance and decided to approach them to investigate. In another room, a group of powerful individuals were frustratedly looking at a crystal ball with signal interference. Ye Xiao approached and asked someone in the group, unaware that they had gathered to watch his challenge. Ye Xiao suddenly appeared among the discussing group, asking if Ye Xiao had cleared the challenge. The Great Elder turned around, astonished to recognize the newcomer. The entire group simultaneously called out his name in shock. Viscount Ye Xiao. Someone in the group quickly asked if he had cleared the abyssal challenge, and Ye Xiao casually replied that he hadn't received the reward yet. Another person curiously looked at Ebisu and asked if Ye Xiao had relied on this toad to clear the stage, causing Ebisu to angrily retort. The Great Elder seriously asked the level of the final boss, and Ye Xiao calmly replied, "Immortal level." The entire group of observers was horrified and stunned by his answer. After calming down, the Great Elder invited Ye Xiao to follow him. Along the way, he revealed that before receiving the reward, he would take Ye Xiao to the temple's core to receive the blessing of the world's will. Ye Xiao showed interest in the concept of a blessing. They arrived before a gigantic holy tree, emitting a mystical blue light, leaving Ye Xiao overwhelmed and wondering if this was a god. The Great Elder explained that this was not a god, but the will of the holy tree. He told Ye Xiao to step forward and accept the blessing from the holy tree. As a stream of blue energy enveloped Ye Xiao, the Great Elder announced that they would leave so he could wait patiently. Suddenly, the energy from the holy tree became chaotic, startling Ye Xiao, who wondered what was happening. The holy tree shook violently, radiating a powerful surge of energy. Ye Xiao was thrown backward by an extremely powerful repulsive force. To everyone's astonishment, the holy tree uprooted itself from the ground, carrying an entire building as it flew into the air. Ye Xiao looked up at the unbelievable sight, wondering in amazement if this was truly a holy tree. From the canopy of the hovering holy tree, countless blue energy spheres began to appear. Green energy orbs from the holy tree fell to the ground, beginning the blessing process. A vision appeared, showing ancient races like dwarves, dragons, elves, and goblins once thriving. Giant dragons could flatten mountains, dwarves possessed superior technology, and elves controlled the power of nature. Then one day, Outsiders calling themselves gods appeared, plotting to force all creatures into submission. Under the power of the gods, many races bowed down, but proud species like dragons still resisted, until a strange invasion once again shrouded the continent in darkness, causing creatures to become ferocious. Ye Xiao stood amidst the energy orbs, speculating that this strange invasion was related to the gods. A mysterious voice echoed, instructing him to seek the holy judgment to stop the invasion of darkness. A small orb of light flew into Ye Xiao's hand, and he looked at it curiously. The system announced this was the supreme heavenly gift, the reward for completing the challenge and the key to obtaining the power of holy judgment. Energy from the holy tree began to surge violently. A series of system notifications appeared. Ye Xiao received countless blessings, 5,000 base attribute points, a 100% increase in bonus points, and the unlocking of a resurrection skill. He smiled smugly, thinking that the blessing of this holy tree was truly beyond imagination. Ye Xiao examined the new skill, astonished to learn it could allow him to resurrect once by consuming the power of the blessing. He felt extremely satisfied. This trip had brought too many benefits. When the process concluded, Ye Xiao returned to meet the group of elders and reassured them that everything went smoothly. The great elder joyfully recognized him as a friend of the temple and offered him an invitation to join, but Ye Xiao temporarily declined. The elder respected his decision and gave him the reward for completing the challenge, a dazzling yellow gemstone. Ye Xiao realized it was the heroic divine stone, a legendary item used to enhance the hero's emblem. After receiving the reward, he politely took his leave, and the elder reiterated that the doors of the World Temple were always open to welcome him. In Dragon Phoenix City, the capital of the empire, an arrogant purple-haired man in a white military uniform led his subordinates, shouting loudly for everyone to get out of the way. People on the street recognized him as Lansley and whispered about his notoriety as a ruthless killer. Lansley stood waiting in front of a large building, impatiently muttering that he wanted to kill someone. The scene returned to a panoramic view of the bustling Dragon Phoenix City. Lansley and his subordinates continued to stride arrogantly through the street. The citizens were still discussing Lansley's appearance, fearing that trouble was imminent. He was still waiting outside the building, his expression growing increasingly impatient and bloodthirsty. A knight in golden armor reminded Lansley to restrain himself, as the prince's mission was to deal with Ye Xiao first. Lansley mocked the knight, asking if he was afraid. He sneered, confident that he had no reason to fear a player who was only level 50. The doors of the World Temple opened, and Ye Xiao calmly stepped out. Lansley smiled maliciously, saying he was eager to play with Ye Xiao. Ye Xiao coldly asked who they were and indifferently replied that he didn't need to know them. Lansley introduced himself as an enforcement officer, here by order of Prince Karami to deal with Ye Xiao. Suddenly, the great elder of the World Temple appeared, loudly criticizing their arrogance. He stood in front of Ye Xiao, declaring him a friend of the World Temple and questioning Lansley. Lansley was stunned, confused as to when Ye Xiao had become a friend of the temple, and began to stammer. The quick-witted golden-armored knight changed his tone, saying they had come to congratulate Viscount Ye Xiao, the hero of the empire. Lansley secretly cursed his subordinate's duplicity, while the knight continued to pour out praises for Ye Xiao. With a self-satisfied smile, Ye Xiao demanded that the two men dance. Lansley was dumbfounded, while the great elder seemed amused, saying he heard the blessing dance was quite beautiful. Lansley frantically refused, and the golden-armored knight also hastily begged to be excused from dancing. Ye Xiao turned to inform the great elder that they seemed unwilling, causing the old man to immediately adopt a stern expression. Cornered, Lansley could only grit his teeth and curse inwardly. Having no other choice, Lansley turned and angrily ordered his subordinates to dance. Ye Xiao unexpectedly spoke up to stop them, making the knight secretly rejoice, thinking he had been spared. But Ye Xiao pointed toward the street, demanding they go out there and dance in front of the crowd. Both Lansley and the knight were speechless at this humiliating demand. Under pressure, the two had no choice but to go to the middle of the square and begin their awkward dance. The crowd gathered to watch, and one person commented with amusement, wondering who dared to teach Lansley such a lesson. Another group of players sarcastically remarked that the wicked had finally met their retribution, and mocked their dance as truly graceful. Lansley felt utterly humiliated and ashamed. His eyes flashed with hatred, swearing that sooner or later he would repay today's humiliation many times over. Feeling he had wasted enough time, Ye Xiao turned and walked toward a gate inscribed with the words battlefield. Ebisu on his shoulder showed fear, not wanting to enter that dangerous place, but Ye Xiao reassured him that he would protect Old Hui. Ebisu was still hesitant, but Ye Xiao had lost patience and urged his companion. He placed his hand on the teleportation gate, and both were sucked into a beam of light. Beyond the gate was a desolate sight, the ground covered with the corpses of petrified warriors. Ye Xiao set foot in Realm City, astonished by the sight of the deadly battlefield stretching out before him. A knight wearing antlered armor approached, and asked Ye Xiao if he wanted to join a legion. Ye Xiao replied that he was still thinking, and the knight immediately invited him to join the city guard, the safest legion. The knight proudly showed off his level 50 gold armor as proof of the easy life. Ye Xiao asked again about the safest legion, and the knight explained that they didn't need to fight monsters there. However, Ye Xiao smiled and refused, saying he didn't like places that were too safe and preferred to go alone. Surprised by Ye Xiao's decision, the knight asked if he wanted to be a lone wolf, and Ye Xiao confirmed it. Ye Xiao immediately changed the subject, asking for the location of the nearest fort. The knight pointed the way west, toward a blind blacksmith renowned for his skill. After Ye Xiao thanked him and left, another soldier wondered about the madness of acting alone in this place. The antlered knight watched Ye Xiao's retreating figure, secretly hoping he wouldn't perish on the battlefield. Ye Xiao arrived at an outdoor forge, where a long line of people was patiently waiting. He wondered why so many people were gathered here. Telling himself that a person of his status couldn't possibly cut in line, Ye Xiao gave a meaningful smile. Immediately, he walked straight to the front of the line, infuriating the crowd with his queue-jumping behavior. Someone in the crowd was about to strike but quickly stopped upon recognizing something on Ye Xiao's chest. The blacksmith wearing the Viking helmet was also stunned, realizing it was the badge of valor. He respectfully asked if Ye Xiao was the brave warrior who had passed the purgatory level challenge, leaving everyone around speechless. Ye Xiao casually confirmed it, and the blacksmith said that although he couldn't see, he could feel the power emanating from the badge. Ye Xiao stated his purpose was to enhance the badge, and the blacksmith immediately agreed without hesitation. Before starting, the blacksmith asked Ye Xiao for a favor if he was heading to the battlefield, and Ye Xiao agreed to listen. The blacksmith recounted that his son, John, had gone missing in the Lord's forest and promised an epic-tier piece of equipment if Ye Xiao found him. Ye Xiao smirked, realizing this was a hidden quest, while the crowd was terrified upon hearing the name Lord's Forest. Everyone muttered, believing that even the Holy Legion wouldn't dare venture into that forest filled with bizarre bosses. Despite the warnings, Ye Xiao accepted the quest and requested the equipment upgrade, making the blacksmith overjoyed. When a brilliant golden light flashed, the crowd was astonished to realize it wasn't epic-tier equipment, but legendary tier. The blacksmith solemnly handed back the legendary tier badge of valor, with greatly enhanced stats and effect. Ye Xiao took the badge with satisfaction, secretly marveling that the power of the Stone of Valor was greater than he had imagined. After receiving the equipment, he bid the blacksmith farewell, and promised to head to the Lord's Forest immediately. The crowd remained skeptical, believing he wouldn't be foolish enough to enter that dangerous area alone. Just as he left, Ye Xiao unexpectedly received a message from the gift of the Supreme God, hinting at a holy fragment item. In his palm, a sphere displayed the image of an island and a dark forest, like a difficult puzzle. Ye Xiao decided to temporarily set aside the puzzle, prioritizing entry into the battlefield first. He quickly found a gigantic stone gate, inscribed with the words "Battlefield Entrance." 2 guards stopped him, demanding registration for entry, and Ye Xiao simply stated his name. After registration was complete, the guard gave him a card and explained that it was used to accumulate merit. As Ye Xiao walked through the gate alone, the 2 guards watched, unable to believe someone dared to charge into the realm battlefield solo. Stepping inside, Ye Xiao saw only a desolate, barren land stretching to the horizon. Immediately, the ground shook, and countless ferocious monsters of various shapes emerged from the earth. Ye Xiao realized they were all above level 50, confirming that this place was indeed extraordinary. Facing the horde of monsters, he raised his hand and summoned the immortal phoenix. "Xiao Luo, come out." The immortal phoenix unleashed the falling comet skill, creating a stream of blazing energy. The attack swept across the battlefield, incinerating countless monsters and earning merit points for its master. Standing amidst the sea of fire, Ye Xiao praised his pet with satisfaction. "Well done, Xiao Luo." He checked the status board, seeing his name listed as Yehan with just over 500 merit points, secretly thinking this pace was too slow. Suddenly, an elite boss in the form of a spider centaur appeared, exciting Ye Xiao with the opportunity to earn more points. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a warrior named Tolvin had just defeated a gigantic monster. He smugly boasted that he had just eliminated an elite boss. Tolvin confidently opened the rankings, certain he would make it into the top 1,000. However, he was stunned to see he was ranked only 1,002, behind someone named Babalu and Ye Xiao at rank 1,000. The rankings suddenly flickered, and Ye Xiao's name disappeared, leading Tolvin to believe the system was glitching. When the rankings stabilized, Babalu had moved up to rank 1,000, making Tolvin wonder if that person had also killed an elite boss. Returning to the battle, the immortal phoenix swooped down with terrifying speed. It delivered a finishing blow, a destructive spark piercing the body of the spider centaur boss. After defeating the enemy, the immortal phoenix was upgraded to level 49, and its stats also soared, delighting Ye Xiao. Ye Xiao checked again. His merit points were already close to the 100,000 mark. He excitedly called out the names of his pets, signaling them to continue advancing. A worldwide announcement rang out. Player Ye Xiao had entered the top 100, causing other players to discuss it in astonishment. In another area, players watching the rankings were also stunned by Ye Xiao's extraordinary speed. The news reached Fenghe City, where the citizens rejoiced upon receiving battle zone points that granted permanent stat increase. The players in Fenghe offered endless praise, asserting that the reputation of a major figure like Ye Xiao would shine wherever he went. Inside the gloomy Lord's forest, Ye Xiao began his search. Ebisu, perched on his shoulder, nervously warned that the forest felt unusual, but Ye Xiao reassured him not to worry. He confidently declared that the Lord's forest definitely contained several Lord-tier bosses, and decided to check them out. Meanwhile, At a nearby stronghold, an army was stationed. Atop the watchtower, an officer named Ron frantically reported intelligence to his white-haired commander. Ron stated that a boss and its army of over 4 digits were advancing toward the stronghold. The commander calmly ordered preparations for the coming storm. Standing before the entire army, the commander passionately called upon the warriors to defend the glory of the 3rd Legion against the evil forces. In response to the rallying cry, the soldiers unanimously shouted their determination to protect the Legion's honor. Immediately afterward, a panicked soldier pointed toward the edge of the forest, where countless pairs of glowing blue antlers had appeared, signaling the start of the attack. The commander was also astonished by the unimaginable scale of the monster army. From the shadows, a herd of gigantic ice armor iron deer charged out. The ferocious monsters gored the soldiers, making them realize the horror of their enemy. The entire camp descended into chaos as the ice armor iron deer herd flooded in to attack. The commander quickly ordered Ron to lead the shield guards out in waves to provoke the enemy, avoiding direct confrontation. He then ordered the archer squad to provide long-range support, and a knight immediately acknowledged the command. The archers obeyed, drawing their bows and preparing to fire. A rain of arrows poured down, embedding themselves directly into the charging deer herd. The commander smiled with satisfaction upon seeing the enemy begin to retreat, but Ron screamed in terror, telling him to look again. Amidst the herd, a colossal boss radiating a terrifying aura appeared. It was the ice armor iron deer king. The white-haired commander yelled, ordering the entire army to prepare for battle. The soldiers trembled as the gigantic boss charged toward them, admitting that this was the first time they had seen such a massive monster. Suddenly, a stream of brilliant golden fire struck one of the deer in the monster herd. The flames spread rapidly, incinerating the entire iron deer army in the blink of an eye. The colossal boss, the ice armor iron deer king, collapsed to the ground, stunning the soldiers on the rampart. The commander couldn't believe his eyes, wondering if he was hallucinating or had been hit by a mental attack. A soldier spotted Yahello standing alone in the middle of the battlefield, immediately leading the commander to suspect he was the one who had taken down the boss. The commander hastily ordered his men to go down and see who it was, while Ron was eager to meet the superhuman who had just appeared. Immediately, the commander led a squad toward Yahello. Yahello turned around, looking puzzled by their appearance. The commander politely called out to Yahello, while Yahello secretly wondered why so many people had suddenly gathered here. Deciding he didn't have time for this, Yahello resolved to focus on leveling up and completing quests. He quickly turned and walked away, ignoring the army behind him. The commander desperately called after him, trying to stop the hero who had just saved their lives. When Ron asked what they should do next, the commander decided they should stand still and observe the situation. He watched Yahello's retreating figure, secretly astonished, unable to imagine who could be so ridiculously powerful. To clear out the remaining monsters, Yahello summoned the immortal phoenix and ordered it to sweep the area clean. The immortal phoenix swooped down, engulfing the entire forest in a sea of fire. A series of system notifications popped up as countless level 52 and 55 monsters were instantly annihilated. Yahello was delighted to receive the notification that the immortal phoenix had reached level 50 and unlocked a new innate skill. Yahello smiled contentedly, thinking that the immortal phoenix's level 50 innate skill was truly powerful. He commanded his pet, Xiao Luo, let's go deeper. Meanwhile, in another city, a group of players discussed in amazement how Yehan's merit points were skyrocketing. On a watchtower, a high-level mage commented that even he couldn't achieve this rate of annihilation, and a new star was about to emerge on the battlefield. When asked if he was being humble, the mage explained that killing a few level 50 to 60 bosses was easy, but slaughtering on such a massive scale was unimaginable. He believed that if this person matured, he could achieve things no one had ever done before. His companion asked if he was referring to the old monsters hidden deep within the empire, and the mage confirmed it. The mage looked up at the sky, worried that the speed of the strange invasion was accelerating, and the world might end within the next decade. The scene shifted to the Lord's Forest, which was engulfed in a chaotic sea of fire. A group of Legion commanders frantically wondered what was happening and whether they should retreat. A white-haired commander spoke up, announcing that an extremely powerful individual was purging the forest and suggested that everyone cooperate with his action. When questioned, he revealed that he had just checked the merit leaderboard and a new name, Yahello, had appeared. The white-haired commander pointed toward the distant flames and asserted that Yahello was currently annihilating a Lord-tier boss. Another group of players witnessed the scene from afar, terrified to learn that he had killed more than one Lord-tier boss. The white-haired commander called upon everyone to seize this opportunity and charge into the Lord's Forest together for a counterattack. Encouraged, the other commanders unanimously agreed, determined to fight to the death on the battlefield, and ordered their legions to advance. The white-haired commander watched with a look of determination. Suddenly, an earth-shattering sound echoed, causing the commanders to halt, wondering if the strongest creature in the forest had awakened. A terrifying explosion swallowed countless monsters in the Lord's Forest. Yahello stood there as both he and the immortal phoenix were notified that they had reached level 51, and he decided it was time to rest. Yahello was resting when Ebisu appeared, complaining about the heat and boredom. Suddenly, Ebisu sensed something unusual in the dark forest ahead. A giant wyvern with an armored rider on its back soared through the sky. The system panel appeared, confirming it was a king-tier boss, the level 55 Blood Rain Ghost Wyvern, astonishing Ye Xiao. Without hesitation, Ye Xiao summoned his spirit beasts, ordering the Azure Sky Dragon and Immortal Phoenix into combat position. The Azure Sky Dragon let out a sky-shattering roar and charged straight toward the enemy. It immediately unleashed a powerful stream of energy to attack the Wyvern. The attack hit, dealing 118,640 damage to the Blood Rain Ghost Wyvern. The Immortal Phoenix also joined the fight, blazing with fire, preparing to strike. Its stream of fire hit the target, dealing an additional 80,180 damage. Injured, the Blood Rain Ghost Wyvern roared and began accumulating dark energy in its mouth. It unleashed a deadly purple dragon breath in retaliation. Ye Xiao calmly watched as the Azure Sky Dragon created a protective shield, realizing that this king-tier boss could not be underestimated. He raised his hand, ordering both spirit beasts to attack simultaneously to interrupt its next skill. Just then, Ye Xiao sensed another presence and turned around in surprise. From the shadows, a giant level 56 ghostly wolf stepped out. Ye Xiao paled as he realized he was facing a second king-tier boss. Meanwhile, in the city, a crowd of players watched the leaderboard in astonishment as Ye Xiao's score skyrocketed again. The leaderboard updated, showing that Ye Xiao had broken the 10 million merit point mark, firmly securing the first position. The group of players in Realm City couldn't believe their eyes, wondering how it was possible to defeat a king-tier boss and earn 10 million merit points in less than a minute. Atop a tower, the high-level mage was also astonished by this incredible achievement, commenting that the old record had been broken too quickly. The bodyguard in red armor standing nearby wondered if Ye Xiao truly had the strength to sweep the entire level 50 battlefield. The mage asserted that, from today onward, they probably wouldn't have to worry about this battlefield anymore. Meanwhile, Ye Xiao had ventured deep into a desolate forest, where a giant bat swooped down to attack. He merely smirked, realizing that the third king-tier boss had appeared. The information panel appeared, confirming this was the level 58 Dark Bat with 4,300,000 HP. Ye Xiao summoned the Azure Sky Dragon and casually asked if it was losing patience. Immediately, the Azure Sky Dragon soared up and unleashed a powerful Dragon King's breath. The attack struck the bat, knocking it to the ground in a small explosion. However, the Dark Bat quickly recovered and retaliated with a deafening sonic attack. Ye Xiao quickly covered his ears, feeling as if his eardrums were about to burst. He immediately summoned the Immortal Phoenix and ordered it to warm up the opponent. The young Phoenix flew up, unleashing a blazing stream of burning sky fire. The stream of fire shot directly into the mouth of the roaring Dark Bat. Ye Xiao laughed loudly and praised his pet for doing a great job. Scorched by the flames from within, the bat's abdomen began to swell and glow. Ebisu, sitting on Ye Xiao's shoulder, exclaimed in surprise, warning that its belly looked like a giant balloon about to burst. Immediately afterward, the Dark Bat exploded into hundreds of pieces in midair. Ye Xiao grimaced at the stench, secretly astonished that a king-tier enemy was dealt with so easily. Unexpectedly, from where the boss exploded, a swarm of small bats poured out into the sky. Ye Xiao realized the boss could split into smaller entities. He observed the swarm of bats rushing toward him, carrying deadly venom. Without hesitation, Ye Xiao ordered the Azure Sky Dragon flying overhead. "Little Ash, suppress them quickly." The Azure Sky Dragon let out a sky-shattering roar, releasing its Dragon King's pressure. Immediately, the entire swarm of bats was stunned and fell into chaos. Ye Xiao turned to summon the Immortal Phoenix, ordering, "Little Luo, turn them into barbecue." The Immortal Phoenix soared up, unleashing a blazing stream of fire toward the enemies. The venomous bat swarm was completely incinerated by the divine flames before they could react. Amidst the rain of charred bat corpses, Ye Xiao received a notification that he and his pets had leveled up to 52. He looked disappointed that this king-tier boss hadn't dropped any equipment. After dismissing his pets, Ye Xiao thought to himself that all 4 king-tier enemies had been eliminated. While walking through the forest, he suddenly spotted a squad of soldiers in silver armor standing ahead. The commander of the squad immediately recognized him and called out his name loudly. The commander stepped forward and asked again to confirm Ye Xiao's identity. Ye Xiao asked who they were, and the commander introduced himself as Agri, of the 5th Legion of the Holy Legion. Igre confirmed that he was the commander of this area, and that the entire 5th Legion obeyed Ye Xiao's orders. Ye Xiao immediately gave Agre his first mission, to herd all the strange creatures in the forest into one location. Agre wondered how to execute the mission of herding all the strange creatures in the Lord's forest into one location. One of his subordinates agreed, suggesting that gathering all the monsters would lead to their immediate annihilation. Ye Xiao appeared with bags of gold, and promised to provide them with black gold tier equipment. He also announced that they could keep all dropped items below the epic tier. A soldier under Igre was extremely astonished, and asked again if it was true that they would get to keep all that equipment. Ye Xiao confirmed that they had to herd all the monsters in the entire forest, even those in the battlefield. Encouraged by the generous reward, both Agra and his subordinates were determined to give their all for the equipment. However, Agra was still concerned that with such a massive number of monsters, his troops wouldn't be able to hold out. Ye Xiao admitted that it was his oversight, and adjusted the plan, asking them only to gather monsters within a safe limit and contact the other legions for support. Agra saluted solemnly, ensuring that he would complete the assigned mission. After giving the order, Ye Xiao sat down to rest and sighed from exhaustion. Inside a command tent, Agra began to execute the plan. He opened a video call, informing the other commanders about the major mission entrusted by Ye Xiao. However, the other commanders were skeptical and mocked the plan, suggesting Igra was boasting. They continued to sneer, refusing to believe that someone like Igra could have met Ye Xiao. When asked for proof, Igra confidently ended the call and warned that they would regret it. Igra's subordinate asked if they should proceed with the plan, and he resolutely confirmed it. Igra firmly ordered the entire army to set out, according to Ye Xiao's instruction. He secretly vowed to make those who had looked down on him pay.